morning, everybody. Hello. All right. Good morning. I hope everyone's doing okay. Let's go ahead and mute the music in 1, 2, and 3. Big stop. All right. Good morning, everybody. Just to say it off the top here, we do not condone unnecessary uses of violence. Obviously, all human beings engage in some level of violence, from eating burgers, because you have to kill an animal to eat, to engaging in self-defense. But generally speaking, violence is almost never the answer. And now that we have a person in custody for the death of Charlie Kirk, hopefully justice will be served to the one single individual that is responsible for this death, as was just preached on the press conference, if you guys had been watching it. Okay, starting at the top of the hour. Tao Te Ching, a model for others, 54. A tree that is well planted is not easily uprooted. A treasure that is well guarded is not easily taken. If you pass on the Tao to your children, your family's virtue will endure. The one who practices the Tao shows that virtue is real. The family that practices the Tao shows that virtue is abiding. The township that practices the Tao shows that virtue is enduring. The nation that practices the Tao shows that virtue is expansive. The empire that practices the Tao shows that virtue is universal. One person becomes a model for others. One family for other families. One town for other towns. One nation for other nations. One empire for all empires. Okay? Now, if you wonder what the Tao is, think of the Tao as the replacement for whatever you think your higher power, your guiding light is, your sense of values or morals, right? That thing that guides you. That sort of idea of right and wrong. That's what the Tao is. Think of it that way, right? If you can't process it, especially if you grew up like in an Abrahamic religion like I did, it might be a little hard. You might be like, what does that mean? You can still think of the Tao in relationship to Jesus Christ, right? Think about the right or wrongs, or Muhammad, or whoever, like Allah, whatever your being is, right? I know I posted a video yesterday, I did a live stream, and it has an insane amount of very disgusting comments. People who just read my title, couldn't handle it, got triggered, left a comment. People who claimed they were going to report my channel and all that other stuff. I never advocated for Charlie Kirk's violence. I advocated against it. I even encouraged my progressive audience to make sure not to advocate for the violence of others. But the death threats that were in my comment sections, the people who told me they would find me and see me later, I am sorry you're in so much pain. But you cannot take it out on others. Okay? I know you are struggling. I know you are scared. And I know you are angry. So let's talk about something I said on stream yesterday that my Discord asked me to talk about. When we talk about being mad at the world versus mad for the world, when you're mad at the world, you become a school shooter. When you're mad at the world, you kill Charlie Kirk. When you're mad at the world, you leave death threats on a YouTuber's comment section. When you're mad at the world, you read a headline and run with it. When you're mad for the world, you become an activist. When you're mad for the world, you feed the hungry. When you're mad for the world, you house the unhoused. When you're mad for the world, you fight against injustice and for justice. Okay? So our goal here, our goal on this channel, is to encourage people to turn their anger into activism for the community, not for your ego, not for your wallets. The goal here is to take that anger you feel and turn it around and make sure you're not aiming it towards the world, and make sure you're aiming it for the world. You're building the community up, not taking it down. Because anger is a real valid emotion. You're angry. Charlie's dead. This man that you saw through a computer screen that you felt you identified with is dead. And now some girl on the internet is making a video calling him a bad person. And now you feel attacked because you think you're a bad person. Or at least you think you're a good person, so you're mad about it. I don't think bad people deserve to die. And that's the difference between you and me, because you think I'm a bad person, so I deserve to die based off the comments you guys left me. And that's the difference between you and me. I think even if you're a bad person, you don't deserve to die. And that's why I would never advocate for Charlie Kirk's murder. And I advocated against it, especially since it certainly didn't help anybody. And I said that, and I made it clear. And the fact that people couldn't handle it is the point I'm trying to make. You are so busy being angry. You could never learn to transform that into actual justice. And that's what we need to focus on. We need to focus on transforming that into justice. And I know I saw some comments from people, even people in my memberships, who said, I did get an icky feeling that she talked about the dead soon after he was dead and showed all of his statements. Listen, this man made millions of dollars building a career saying Black people were questionable in terms of their ability to perform at the same standard as white people because of DEI. This is a man who made a living advocating for girls to go to college just to find husbands. This is a man who said that if his daughter was raped at 10 years old, she would have to carry that baby to term, right? Like this is a man who spent his life advocating against the basic civil rights of gay and trans people. This is a man who lived and died by the sword. And I want to prevent every Charlie Kirk death from happening if I can. But first, the Charlie Kirks have to stop living and dying by the sword. So if you felt icky that I talked about the dead while also mentioning all of his faults, remember that the moment he died, he was advocating for anti-trans rhetoric and anti-Black rhetoric. He was literally he was being racist and transphobic in the moments of his literal death. And you want me to take a moment out of my time as a public figure who has an audience who's upset because this isn't good for us, who isn't good for them. You want me to take a time to pause before making content, which I did, by the way. If you notice, I waited a day, unlike most of the content creators who jumped on it in 32 seconds. And I gave it a whole day of pondering what I was going to say. And I came to say violence in this situation was unnecessary and inappropriate. And then I came out to remind people of this man that you are begging for us to be compassionate to. The same man who in no way saved any breath being compassionate for others. No matter how bad Charlie Kirk was, he didn't deserve to die. That doesn't make him less of a bad person. And no, it doesn't make you less of a bad person if you believe it or agree with him. When people came to my comment sections and said, Britt, this is a very basic, common Republican opinion. Yeah. Okay. I don't think you deserve to die. I think you deserve to be clothed, educated, have safe, neighborhoods for your kids. I think you deserve a livable wage. I also think you're a bad person. But I advocate for the dignity of bad people, not to excuse their behavior, but because I believe every person deserves a dignified life. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to call you out. I heard a lot of people say, Britt, this is just a difference of opinion. Guys, it's much like dating. Okay, preferences and opinion differences are like, which Marvel movie was your favorite? Did you like Hunger Games or Brave New World? It's not whether or not Black people are qualified to fly planes or exist, or if Michelle Obama was a DEI hire. It's not whether or not gay people deserve to be married and have kids and be in the workforce and be normalized. A difference of opinion isn't a matter of this is not a matter of opinion. This isn't an opinion. And then they said he's an activist. So what is he an activist for, right? Everyone keeps saying, oh, Charlie Kirk was an activist. So what was he advocating for? What was he hoping for the world? So now it's not an opinion, right? Because activists aren't people with opinions, y'all. They're people with prescriptions. So if he is, you know what I mean? If he is making a prescription, what is the prescription? Okay. Chet says you didn't even show the unconfirmed suspect either, like pretty level-headed. I don't know why people are upset, which by the way, now they have him in custody. I watched the press conference before stream and what do you want? Before they even caught the dude, they told us who it was. They blamed the left. This is why I'm saying conservatives are literally causing the violence by advocating for this kind of energy. And I'm not saying progressives don't do that. We called out people. I already called out people saying, guys, this is making you ugly. Stop it. But that doesn't mean we have to be sad that Charlie Kirk died in the same way that I can't be sad for a stranger. Because at the end of the day, I can be sad for some strangers because we have a connection. I don't have a connection to Charlie Kirk, right? I wasn't a fan. I didn't like his work. Him dying is sad he died a bad person. But asking people to have an emotion towards a person they don't know is very strange, right? Now, know is a different and interesting word because I don't know the people in Palestine, but because I care about them in the same way that I would care about any large group of people being targeted and decimated, well, in that case, now I'm feeling, because like, what if that was my family? Now, you could say, well, Brittany, what if your family was Charlie Kirk? Yes, that's sad, and the video was horrible. What does that take away from the fact that you are trying to turn his legacy to something it wasn't? That's the problem. Is like he didn't just die a random person whose opinions I don't know. He died a person with very strong opinions, and in the moment of his death was espousing those opinions. So you cannot act like this is a neutral death. So why, when we are angry, do we, instead of turning it into activism, turn it into violence? Okay, I don't know if you've seen this video going around. I genuinely don't know if this is AI. I don't think so, but it's just one of those videos, you know, and I remember when Trump was getting elected and all those videos of women and girls and non-binary people being clipped of like them screaming. Yeah, guys, these people are mentally unwell, but they're also devastated. So both things can be true at once. You can be devastated, but it depends on how you turn it into something productive. We've seen mothers, we've seen Trayvon Martin's mother. We've seen so many people, kids gunned down, and they show up with dignity and love and focus. They turn into activists. They turn their anger and grief into something better for the community. We've seen people do this time and again. We've seen Palestinian families have more dignity in response to them being genocided than I've seen Charlie Kirk fans have over this man dying. Okay?
This is such bullshit. I've never been so pissed in my whole life. I just murdered Charlie Kirk right here in Utah. I'm so freaking pissed right now. This is bullshit. I just saw blood squirting out of his neck. I love that guy. He would have been our next president. I am so pissed right now. Why do they always come with fucking violence? Gosh damn it. Use your freaking words as they're talking to you people. Who shot Charlie Kirk? I'm driving down a Provo right now. I'm so pissed. Damn it.
I don't know if that's AI. Do you know what I mean? Is that AI? I get you're angry, but also like
comparing abortion to the Holocaust.
But also like this is the guy you're crying over.
Absolutely.
So you're comparing abortion to the Holocaust.
Absolutely I am. In fact, it's worse. It's worse. It's nearly 8 times worse than the Holocaust.
Both 5 drinks in at 2 a.m. and all of a sudden she like removes consent. Yeah, like that's a murky middle gray area. And excuse me,
She still removed consent, did she not?
Okay, but again,
if he continues to go onward with that encounter,
again,
then he is sexually assaulting her.
Again, that is such an unfair categorization.
Okay. So if
okay, right? Like, is this your boy? You know, this is the guy. Do you guys know who Ruby Bridges is? I just want to give you like a really quick understanding of like American history. This is Ruby Bridges, this little girl right here. This little girl, okay? Ruby was the 6-year-old who needed to be literally marshaled and protected going to school for the first time because schools were being integrated, right? They were segregated and then they integrated them. Like Ruby Bridges is still doing interviews to this day. She's alive. She's a literal adult, right? Like these are white women and white people protesting this little girl, throwing tomatoes at her. And this is the America Charlie Kirk died defending. This is exactly the America Charlie Kirk died defending. And I need you to understand that that makes him a bad person. That doesn't mean he deserves to die, but he is a bad person. You cannot be racist and be a good person. You can be a racist person who does good things, but you cannot be a racist person who is a good person. So this is why I say you know, this is the Schindler's List narrative, right? If you watch Schindler's List, he's actually a pretty bad person who does good things. Okay? If you have to understand that like you can be a horrible person who also like, that's why they joke about like Hitler was Hitler, but at least he loved his dog. Yeah. What does loving his dog have to, yeah. And from a human to human perspective, you can be moved by that, right? But like you cannot in any way try to pretend like advocating for a racist world, advocating for a world that says abortion deaths are worse than the Holocaust. Do you know what I'm saying? Like that's just bad. that doesn't mean he deserved to die. Bad people do not deserve to die. And that's what makes me significantly different from, I would say, like 90% of the people on the planet. I truly believe 90% of people on this planet think bad people deserve to die, and I don't. So you can call me what you want to call me, but I don't believe that. You know what I mean? I fully advocate, and I sit here, and I used to be a person who believed that because I was raised a Republican. I was a Republican. I was going to be Charlie Kirk one day. You need to understand that I come from a background where I was doing promos for talk radio, where I thought I was going to be the next Rush Limbaugh. I wrote like a really shitty conservative book, which you should not read because it's a horrible book full of a lot of hatred that I was indoctrinated with. Yeah, I was going to be a hateful, misogynistic, racist girl with parents who were immigrants from Iraq. And then I educated myself and popped a bubble and realized like, oh, that's not the answer. This is a hateful group of people. Okay. And I want to see the world liberated. I don't know why we're trying to sit here and act like the KKK aren't bad people. Okay. Chat said, what made you change? I think it was a combination of things. I think when I stopped looking for the approval of the people around me, I think when I started realizing like, well, first I knew I was gay my whole life. So I was a log cabin Republican, which is like, you know, I used to say things like just horrible things about immigrants and everything else, even though my parents were immigrants, you know, they raised me to be the token immigrant. They raised me to think like, oh, I'm better than other immigrants. Right. And they believe that to an extent because, you know, in a lot of ways they were reinforced by that because they kind of did get the American dream. But the dilemma with that is like, it's not the truth. Like on the surface level, everything kind of looks really good. But when you dig underneath, you realize it's not. And I realized like I was either going to have to change or I was going to be miserable. Like being raised in a Republican household made me self-harming because it was so twisted. It still is so twisted. Guys, you can't live in a world where people tell you like skin color matters and it not make you crazy. That's why they say racism is mental health, because like it literally is a crazy idea for the way Republicans raise people, thinking like the hatred of Black communities, the hatred of immigrant communities, the hatred of their own communities, like the self-hatred is insane. And I just couldn't hate myself forever and live a good life. And I knew I didn't want to either. I knew I didn't think that about other people. I knew that I loved people. I knew that I wanted to help people, and I just didn't understand how this was helping anybody. So I left the Republican Party pretty early on. Like I was pretty young, but I wasn't that young. I think I registered as an independent. I don't know, maybe I was like 21, 22 maybe. But I left, you know, I started questioning. That's why I had a falling out with my Republican groups of friends, because I was like starting to poke at everybody where I was like, hey, like, I don't think this is ethical. And I remember, if you guys don't know my story, I did a possible promo for a young Republican talk radio show. And I was in the studio and we did this promo and it was a disgusting conversation. Like I was very upset and I was going to be the Republican lesbian, but I was going to be the more liberal voice. Because at the time, you know, I obviously didn't go progressive right away, went liberal and then progressive. So I was going to be the more like Republican, but like woman, queer Republican. Okay. I was going to be Blair White. Anyway. And I asked them, I said, well, what if one day I change my mind? They're like, well, you can change your mind in private, but you can't change your mind in public. And I said, what do you mean? They said, so even if you're like pro-gay, pro-trans, like even if you change from being something to something else, as long as in public you don't, you're good. I was like, so you want me to grift? Grifting before you guys knew what grifting was on the internet. And I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to do that. And I'm telling you right now, I knew radio hosts back in the day that were making $1 million a year grifting so fucking hard. Grifting so hard. That's why I look at Republicans and I know most of them are grifting. Because I was there. I was on the inside just long enough, just for a second. All I needed was 1 or 2 events to realize like, oh, you guys are grifting. Not your neighbors. Your neighbors are probably not grifting, y'all. But the people who are convincing your neighbors to be hateful are. Do you know what I'm saying? And so I was like, I'm not going to do this. And everybody was shocked. They're like, Brittany, you could have an opportunity. And I was like, this isn't an opportunity. This is a cage. This is a cage. And that's what it is. I want to be free. I know conservatives think they're about freedom. Real freedom is running away from this hatefulness, judging people by their skin color, judging trans people and gay people, right? Elgra, thank you so much for the super chat. Said, really appreciated the video yesterday. Seeing fellow marginalized people joke and celebrate made me so sad. I just can't get being happy about this. Well, I think because they're short-sighted. Genuinely, this is not good for anybody. This absolutely helps no one. This man was so fucking selfish to sit here and kill Charlie Kirk. It was deeply unethical, deeply immoral, and deeply at the expense of everybody else. You know? And listen, I don't know who this man was. I don't know what he believed, but I saw the press conference this morning and they said one of the bullets had, if you're reading this, you're gay, LMAO. Obviously, this person is not serious. And to blame the libs, to blame the left, to blame the progressives is so irresponsible of Trump as the president of the United States. He's blaming half of the country that he's supposed to be protecting. Okay? It is so irresponsible. It is so irresponsible, okay? Chad says, can I ask something gently? Do you think it's fair to say all conservatives are racist or bad people? I feel like that's a wide spectrum of beliefs, and I'm curious how we draw the lines. Okay, so we do philosophy through pop culture on this channel. All human beings are evolved animals on a planet in which we are engaging in evil. And I know some people don't understand what evil is, so let's Google it so we can have an idea. But evil is it doesn't mean what you guys think it is. Sometimes I think people really struggle to understand what evil is. So just a simple definition, I know, Google a definition here. Profoundly immoral and wicked, his evil deeds. Profound immorality and wickedness, especially in regards as the supernatural force. In religious bubbles, evil is the same as being tempted by the devil. And since conservatives are so religious, I figured like y'all should probably read the Bible some more. Because temptation itself is evil. And you all engage in evil every fucking day. That's what I'm trying to say. Overeating, because you're indulgent, is evil. That's the problem people aren't getting. Like, you should know your scripture. You should know your Bible. If you don't know your Bible, of course you're going to be upset because you like to think, oh, my sin is different than your sin. If you take it from a scripture perspective, we are all sinners. If you take it from a secular perspective, we are all evil. That's what it means to say we are all evil. And the question is, can we be more good every day or less bad every day? But the road to hell is also paved in good intentions. So here are the same people who have a 7th grade reading level, generally speaking in the US, who have not read their Bibles, upset at a girl who knows more than them. Don't be upset at me. Read your Bible. Don't be upset at me. Read your fucking Bible. And actually understand it, okay? So you need to understand that, like, when we talk about evil in a philosophical sense, especially, I don't believe in killing bad people. So when I say somebody's evil, I'm not advocating for their death because I don't think that's the result. But see how these same people are doing that? The same people that left death comments, I left them up. You guys can go see them. I left them up as evidence. Because y'all need to see what the shit is. You need to see what I have to deal with when I don't censor my comments. Go see what these conservatives, go see what these fake fans who are like, Brittany, I used to follow you. You were so nuanced. Girl, I am consistent AF. So if you think I've deviated from my normal, you're wrong. Okay? I am very consistent with my values. Now, my values will change and morph as I get older, hopefully into something more wise. But if we, going back to Tao Te Ching, right? Okay, a model for others. Listen, one person becomes a model for others. What did Charlie Kirk model? What is Trump modeling? Before we even had a person of interest, they decided it was a trans person. They decided it was a liberal. They decided it was... How would you know if we don't know yet? How is that not irresponsible? How is that not evil? How is it not evil to say there's a sickness on the left? What does that? Because they want to believe that Charlie Kirk couldn't have just been killed by a crazy person, an ex-lover, somebody with a vendetta, the CIA, whoever you want to blame. But to blame a whole group of people, and you'll notice I don't do this when progressives are killed. I don't come on my channel and say this is all the right. I say the person who's responsible did it, and the question is what encouraged this person to lead them in that direction. Because if you know anything about progressive values, we don't even like guns. So why would this person own a gun and be a progressive? Why are you even owning a gun? Okay, what do you need a gun for? Okay, it's different if you have a hobby, if you have an interest, but what is he doing in scripting his bullets or his ammo with like, if you read this, you're gay, lol. This has nothing to do with progressive values. This is why we say your values must follow through even when you're tempted to do other. Even when you're tempted to do other, you must follow through with your values. Okay? And this is why I say you're not what you think you are. Same with these Christians. Oh, I'm Christian. Then why are you breaking every 10 of the 10 commandments? Make it make sense. Okay, one person becomes a model for others, one family for other families. Well, how is your family going to be a model for other families if you won't take care of the evil in your own family, your own dysfunction? How is your see, this is where we get WASP culture from. And like this need to not talk about anything bad in our families because we want to pretend like our families are perfect instead of actually being honest with what's happening. Okay, one town for other towns. Okay, well, if your town has a murder rate, has a theft rate, has all these things, how is that happening and why is it happening? Oh, one nation for all nations. America is literally the Logan Paul of the globe, and it's sitting here trying to justify its Suicide Forest video, okay? One empire for all empires. What empire? What empire? Narcissism and ego is rampant and Trump is the king of it. He literally has tweeted and expressed his love for the idea that he might be a king. And you guys want to vote for him because he might be a conduit of God. So why is it hard to be a good person? Why do people turn anger into hate instead of into instead of using it for good? Well, a big part of it is that we don't know how to be good people, right? Like we don't know how to be good people. And that includes the people that were like excited that Charlie Kirk died. Like, again, I don't understand how you're sitting here and you're so angry at me for saying like Charlie Kirk is a bad person that now I deserve to die. And then you're like, I'm a good person. Listen, everyone's a good person and no one's a good person. Everyone's an evil person and no one's an evil person. Look, there is no such thing as a bad dog, but some dogs are ripping off kids' faces. You have to acknowledge and understand that like agree to disagree is not about things like racial discrimination and homophobia. Look, I talked to one of my brothers yesterday, had a great conversation with him. He is sad about Charlie Kirk. He's like, man, Charlie reminds me a lot of my friends. I watched Charlie, not too much, but I did. And I feel bad. And I was like, yeah, let's talk about that. And we did. We had like a 4-hour conversation, a very good conversation. And I said, I love you, but you being Catholic, you being anti-gay, you doing all these things, right? Like we came to a consensus. He understood where I was coming from. I understood where he was coming from. But this isn't agree to disagree. This is the line in the sand of whether or not you're on the right side of history. And yeah, my brother's on the wrong side of history, but he certainly understands where I'm coming from and I understand where he's coming from. This is the thing where we have to understand. We understand where we're coming from. And we're doing our best to be kind to one another, but like we are definitely not in agreement. Okay? And he's more of the liberal Catholic brother. Okay? He's more of the liberally one. Okay? So he's definitely not advocating for all the problem is that I think I don't want anything bad to happen to anybody. And that's the difference. The amount of ill wishes, you know what I mean, people are giving me is insane, right? Like, and even my brother said, like, fuck those people. They don't know you. They don't understand you. Like, they're pieces of shit. Yeah, they are pieces of shit. But hey, we're all just shiny turds at the end of the day, huh? Chad says, do you still feel he's a good person at his core? I think most people are good people at their core, guys. Most people are products of their environment and they're uneducated and naive. Most people will help somebody if they need help. Most people will reach out. Most people are good neighbors. The world wouldn't function the way it was as a whole if we weren't relatively good. Right? It doesn't matter though. Chad says Charlie Kirk thought he was doing good. So did Hitler. I don't know what you're saying. Who cares? So did Hitler. You will not convince anybody who knows anything about Hitler that he did not think he was doing good for Germany. That's the point. Everybody thinks they're doing good. The road to hell is paved in your good intentions. So be very fucking careful with those good intentions. Okay? That's the point. Everybody thinks that. Everybody thinks that. Everybody thinks they're a good person. Now, what do we do about that? What do we do with the world where Hitler gets to go to sleep every night thinking he's a good person? Okay? What do we do where Charlie Kirk gets to go to bed every night thinking he's a good person? Where a lot of these men who are so angry want to go to bed thinking they're good people. Where these progressives who laughed about him dying think they're good people. Yeah, at your core, I bet you're all really good people. But on the surface, ugly as fuck. And you know it. You know ugly as fuck. Chet said LOL in a bullet is very American coded. Actually, it was technically LMAO. It wasn't LOL. It was, if you're reading this, you're gay. LMAO. Who is this psycho? Who is this psycho? Who is this fucking clown of a person? I'm glad they got him. And yet I want no harm to come to him because I don't believe in harm. Okay? That's just that's what I'm saying. Who is this unhinged fucking person? So fucking selfish. So fucking selfish. Okay? See how this has nothing to do with us? Fucking selfish. Chat says, why is the live stream chat on YouTube different than the live stream on Brittany's screen? Not sure how to use it. It's just delayed, bros. It's delayed. Stream is delayed. And then it's top chat versus live stream chat. Hold on, let me switch it to live stream versus top chat. Because on my chat, it's coming up top stream, but I'll switch it to I should have switched it. So I actually think that's why it's coming out different on the screen. Chat says, see how this has nothing to do with us? So true. It has nothing to do with us. We need to understand that. It has nothing to do with us. And that's the problem. Trump blaming us and then y'all acting like a part of it. That's why I say, please, for the love of God, do not get on social media just because you feel like you have something to say. Because you are not helping anybody. Okay, I think I handled it very well and I still got all the flack. Right? And that's the problem. I think I covered Charlie Kirk with so much dignity, and yet people were so angry at me. Just so angry at me. And they're angry the same way this guy on TikTok is angry. You're angry obviously because you don't understand what to do with yourself. Like,
this is such bullshit. I've never been so pissed in my whole life. I just murdered Charlie Kirk right here in Utah. I'm so freaking pissed right now. This is bullshit. I just saw blood squirting out of his neck. I love that guy. He would have been our next president. I am so pissed right now. Why do they always come with fucking violence? Gosh damn it. Use your freaking words as they're talking to you people. Who shot Charlie Kirk? I'm driving out of Provo right now. I'm so pissed. Damn it.
okay? You know what I'm saying? Like, this guy, they should probably put him on a watch just to make sure, right? Because, like, this is the kind of person who would seek revenge for somebody they feel like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? It's scary. You should be scared. Anger like this, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is, I'm mad at the world. Not I'm mad for the world. He's mad at the world. You should be concerned. You know, he needs to go to therapy. He needs to get help. He needs to do all those things, right? Like, he needs to have, his family should intervene. Okay, I hope this is fake. I hope this is AI. I hope this isn't real. Okay? It's okay to feel angry. Anger is a valid emotion, but you can't take it out on people. When he said, I'm driving to Provo right now, why would you drive towards Provo? Why would you go towards it? You know what I mean? Like, why wouldn't you go home and hug your family and love your kids? Right? Okay, does anyone have any questions about the stuff we talked about yesterday or want me to expand on an idea? Because, like, what I want people to understand is that what I'm trying to do here, what I think we should all be doing, is holding a pause. Taking a pause and really trying to discern if there's any wisdom to the thing I'm about to post or say. And I say this as a person who's been petty, who's been kind of edgy, who's been, you know, trying to be funny, right? But the idea that this happens, these videos are horrific, everything is awful. There is a lot of misinformation coming out of the arena, which you have to understand, you have to be aware of, right? Okay, you have to be aware of that. Like yesterday, my brother tells me, oh, they found the guy and this, and that. And I was like, that's not true. They haven't found him. They didn't find him till this morning. And he's like, yeah, but they found bullets and it said this trans stuff. But I saw the thing this morning and like the bullets, the only thing I saw was like, fuck fascists or something like that. Okay, well, as a general statement, that's like him saying, I love ice cream. Okay. Do you know what I mean? Like, you have to be very careful about jumping on this idea. That's why I didn't post photos yesterday of the possible person, because they already got it wrong twice. So I was just like, I'm trying to just pause, right? I'm trying to pause and see. And also we have to understand that for them to take this one shooter and decide this shooter represents a whole group of people, where they're never willing to do that with any other shooter, which they shouldn't anyways. Like, I think most of the men who are angry at the world and write manifestos and mention PewDiePie and stuff, I don't think PewDiePie has anything to do with these guys' decision. PewDiePie didn't make them shoot people. They decided to do it. PewDiePie might be a lot of things, problematic, racist, all the other stuff, but he's never advocated for people to take up a gun and shoot people. So the fact that everybody rides this bandwagon because you're not thinking of assuming these men aren't fully responsible for their decision to grab that gun and shoot people. Like, they have to be responsible. The people who pick up the weapon and shoot have got to be responsible. And then we can zoom out and say, what led to this situation? What led to this circumstance of this happening, right? Because that's the problem. We're distracting ourselves with putting the blame, like, this person is responsible. Now, how did this person come to this conclusion? Mental health, radicalization, racism. Like, racism has caused so many deaths in this country, and yet you refuse to engage in a reality where Charlie Kirk is racist. He's obviously racist. Everything he says is racist. And the fact that you're not willing to examine how much of that causes damage. How many people wanted, what was his name? Zimmerman? How many people went up to Zimmerman to sign Skittles packages after Trayvon Martin's death? And you want to tell me that's not evil? Please make that make sense. Chess says, do we think as progressives living in red states it's cowardly to reel back on publicly speaking? I think you should move. You want to take down the patriarchy? Move. 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 I've done it. You could do it. Move. My mom did it. My dad did it. From what country? Move. I'm dead serious. The best form of activism you can give is not giving your taxes directly to red states. Let's fucking go. Move. If you want. Stop. Like, move. It will be better for you. It'll be better. You'll have better resources. Like, at the end of the day, it's not abandoning your country. You're still in America, y'all. But you can move. And yeah, maybe it's more expensive. Maybe it's not, right? But that's the thing. I understand, as somebody who's moved like 40 times, I understand it's hard every time. But like, move. Stop giving them numbers. And that's the problem at the end of the day. Is like America, we're in a divided time, but we always have been. This narrative that America has never been so divided, it's always been divided. It just didn't look divided to other people because they weren't paying attention. And I find that my life has always improved when I moved to more liberal states. In my personal opinion, it's always felt better as a queer person to be there. And I would rather give my money to those local governments and those local things and uplift those communities. And I would give, if it's hard for you to move, you have family and friends and contacts, you can make the decision to stay, right? But, it's up to you if it benefits your mental health or not. If it benefits your values or not, right? Yeah. Chet said he is crying into a camera saying he's pissed. I didn't really see the issue. He just watched a major political content creator get murdered. He created his own demise because he was a debate lord, ? The world is a reflection of us as a whole. All of us are, Amazon could not have been Amazon without all of us participating in Amazon. We are all, every single one of us who have ever bought anything from Amazon are directly related. And the reason why Jeff Bezos is Jeff Bezos. He would have found a different way, but the world cannot be the way it is without our participation. So like when we look at the damage that Amazon has done to the oceans and to the lands and to people's livelihoods, we are all responsible for that. Now, there is a direct level of responsibility, right? So Charlie Kirk is, of course, responsible and accountable to escalating the hate and division in the country, as is all these other debate lords who talk to him. Any person who's ever collabed with Charlie Kirk is participating in the escalation of division in the country that will lead to more violence because you all cannot understand the difference. Now, at the end of the day, the constituents and the people are also very racist and bigoted. And that's the dilemma. You are not willing to hold yourself accountable. You are not willing to hold yourself accountable. Yeah, and chat says that guy was seeking revenge. That guy wanted revenge. And I'm saying you need to chill. You need to go to therapy. You need to talk to somebody. Okay? Because like I understand you're angry. That's okay. Be sad. But you can't post on social media so angry you're spitting out of your mouth and expect that's not going to motivate people. I saw people in my comment section say, this lit a fire under my ass. I'm going to get involved. Involved in what, girl? What are we getting involved in? Everything Charlie Kirk stood for was bigotry. So are you going to get more involved in bigotry? Charlie Kirk dying is going to make more people hateful. And that's not the fault of anyone but those people choosing to be hateful. And it's the responsibility of the person who shot Charlie Kirk. But Trump is a participant in this. Like, you need to decide, am I going to become more hateful because somebody died? I don't become more hateful when I see Palestinians being genocided. I don't hate Jews. Okay, that's not what happened. I become focused, advocating, donating, rallying. We become community members. We don't hate Jews because Palestine is being genocided. We encourage people to come together to fight for innocent life, right? You can be against Israel as a government body and Netanyahu, but like to be anti-Jewish is wrong because it doesn't make any sense. Okay? So you need to be kinder, better. Okay? You need to figure out ways to feed your community, not go on a hunger strike. Okay? You need to feed your community. Okay? Chess says, how do you feel about Dean Withers' reaction? I covered this yesterday in stream. Dean Withers and the rest of them are accountable for the escalation of division in this country. Dean Withers is a clout chaser who spends all of his time and the way that he knows how in debate bubbles that make fights with Charlie Kirk and the like in order to make money and pretend they care about civil liberty and progression, but they don't. They're liberals at best. And liberals at best want to build bridges with fascists. We are not building bridges, but we are being kind. We are going to be kind to our neighbors no matter who they are and what they stand for. You must be kind even in the face of discrimination, but you must never forgo your right to self-defense, which is your fucking right. And there's a difference between self-defense and going out there and finding trouble. This person who shot Charlie Kirk was not doing it in self-defense. They did it in the most unethical, cruel way they could have done it, scarring all of the people there, ruining, like, just in the most disgusting way ever, engaged in whatever they thought was their right, which is not. It's not your right to go shoot people. That's not your right. Okay? Chad says, I think Charlie Kirk is a terrible and unempathetic person, but I don't know enough about him to say that he was an evil person. Is your definition, would you really say he's evil in your definition? In the Christian definition, I do understand why you would use the word evil, but they use it for anything bad. Do you think it is evil and bad to say that if I see a black person who's flying a plane, I have to question whether or not they're qualified? Do you think that's evil, bad? What do you think that is? Go ahead, tell me. Do you think it's good or bad? Okay. Do you think it's good or bad to make your 10-year-old daughter, after being raped, carry that pregnancy to term? Good or bad? Okay, good or bad? Chad said, I think it is bad, but I would not say evil. So you don't think demeaning black people is evil? You don't think being racist is evil? Chad says, do you think people deserve to die because they have a viewpoint you don't agree with? No, I don't, but thank you for asking. I don't think anyone deserves to die. I don't believe in the death penalty. I don't believe in war. I don't believe in anything in that context. No, I don't. Like, I don't believe that. Okay? And I've said so. Unlike the Republicans who are sending me death threats in my comment section right now. Okay? I don't believe that. Okay? I don't believe anyone should die. Okay? Chat says, I think you're mentally deranged if you believe any of the kinds of things that Charlie advocates for. I think you are brought up in a white supremacist patriarchal world that convinces you that hating black people for their skin isn't evil. And I think that's the problem. Do you think it is evil? Right? Just as the word evil is too strong because people have a different stupid reasons to be racist. It's evil. It's still evil. Racism is evil no matter how you got there. And the fact that you are trying to water it down is exactly the reason why people can't hold anybody accountable, because you literally won't let us. You can't even say with your chest that racism is evil. You can't even let us say that, goddamn it, the way you were born isn't good enough for me to hate you. How can you not say that's wrong? How can you not say it's wrong to hate people because of the way they were born? It's like the easiest, most simple thing to do. Yeah, you shouldn't hate people for the way they're born. You shouldn't distrust people for the way they look. You shouldn't assume that they aren't qualified because. And you shouldn't advocate it on a public forum. Chet says, I think you as a whole person cannot be evil just for your opinion. Okay, Charlie Kirk didn't just have opinions. He did advocacy work. He got up on stage and made prescriptions that people ought to be this way. He said people ought to listen to good, wholesome music and stay away from rap. He said people ought to do things. This is different. A difference of opinion is like which Marvel movie was your favorite. A difference of opinion is not whether or not black people deserve dignity. That's not a difference of opinion. You guys have got to learn what a difference of an opinion is. Nobody wants to kill anybody because of a difference of opinion. You kill people for land, power, money, greed, evil. Okay? Nobody's just racist because of a difference of an opinion. You inherently believe you are better than that person because of your skin color difference. It's evil. To think that you were so lucky to be born into a white body gives you the right to think you are better than brown and black skin is absolutely evil. And you need to deconstruct it. You need to think about it. Okay? You need to deconstruct it. Okay? And I think the world doesn't understand how evil it is to talk about a 10-year-old bringing a baby to term because you've never seen a child who was pregnant, like a younger child. You've probably seen a teen pregnancy, which is disgusting, like for the sake of those children who were raped. Disgusting. Not kids who accidentally get pregnant because they're in love with their boyfriends. But when you see a 10-year-old who's been assaulted and pregnant, it should devastate you. It should be as horrific as watching Charlie Kirk die. And I've seen those videos. I've seen interviews with children who've been impregnated and had to carry babies to term. Okay? There was a girl, I think, out of Brazil, was it? I don't remember. She had twins. Her hips broke as she gave birth because they're a pro-life country. I think it was Brazil. I could be wrong, though. Okay? Like, think about that. That is just as evil as watching Charlie Kirk die. Disgusting that we put people through that. Okay? Chet says, I think we use the word differently. For me, it is something very extreme. Not many people are truly evil in my language. Well, that's why they get away with it. Yeah, that's why we all get away with it, right? Because you think being evil means something has to happen now. But your evil should be stopped. It should be stopped with dignity and love and education. Because you think evil is like obvious. And that's why people get away with evil. Because you let people, like, it is evil to litter. It is evil to litter. You are, as a grown-up, littering and throwing trash on the ground is evil. And you shouldn't do it. It's evil. There's no reason to do it. There's no reason to take a beautiful neighborhood and bring the neighborhood down. It's evil. There's no reason to take a life. It's evil. Okay? That doesn't mean that person needs a death penalty because we don't believe in the death penalty. We don't want people who do evil to be killed. We want people who do evil to get rehabilitation, reform, education, love, dignity, community. Evil is everywhere. Calling somebody a slur when you know it's offensive and will hurt their feelings is evil. Okay? Doxing somebody, stalking somebody, harassing somebody, evil. We shouldn't be doing these things. Ask yourself, do I want to live in a town where people harass one another? No. Would you want to live in a town where people come to your front door and say, like, you're a fascist? No. Do you want to live in a neighborhood where people come to your door and they're like, you're racist? No. Do you want someone to come to your door and be like, trans people are disgusting? I don't want to live in that neighborhood. That's evil. Okay? It's evil. It's evil. This is not good. If it wouldn't be in an ideal neighborhood, we're not going to have it. The question is, the difference is here is what is ideal. But you cannot sit here and tell me, oh, like, it's just a little bit bad. Is it bad? Do you want to stop it? I ask you. You say, oh, evil is, yeah, we use the word evil differently. Littering is shitty and adds to some badness score. Move up the scale, but I wouldn't call it evil. Again, is it wicked to litter? Is it negative? Okay? Like, we are literally talking about philosophy. We're talking about the idea. We're not, yes, there's a spectrum. Yes, it's all different, but it's all still evil. It's all evil, and then there's a spectrum. Not the spectrum, and then it's evil. Evil, but a spectrum. It's a spectrum of evil. It's not a spectrum from bad to evil. It's all philosophically evil. All of it. Okay? Chet says, I'm sorry, Brittany, not everyone can be rehabilitated. I know a close friend who worked in prisons where women killed all their kids choking them. How on earth can that person ever be rehabilitated? You can rehabilitate people that never go back into society. You can give them a safe shelter, a place to be. You can give them a good life. That doesn't mean they have to interact with the rest of society. Right? Also, mental health, and a lot of these deaths are preventative. A lot of women in postpartum depression or people experience a biological, this is why pregnancy is not a joke. Pregnancy is a biological change in the brain and body. It can literally shift your whole perception of yourself and others. You can have psychosis. You can have a lot of issues for this. This is all preventable. You guys are also focused on what happens after the fact, and I'm saying this could have been prevented. It could have been prevented. So when Charlie Kirk sits there and tells women you have to have babies, he's basically saying no matter your mental health, you need to put yourself at risk and your children at risk. And I'm saying no, not everyone should be having babies, but not everyone knows that they're even going to have this happen to them until it happens. That's why I warn you, have friends and family near you, have a support system. Like, people will say, like, they'll even tell their family, like, I'm feeling really weird, I need help. And the family go, you're fine, you're being silly. We ignore it. We are at fault for the way we do not hear people's cry for help. We are at fault for the way we do not help people when they say, I need help, somebody help me. And everyone just ignores it. Everyone just ignores it. Even that stabbing that happened to the Ukrainian lady, the most devastating thing I've ever seen. Not only did the men and women on that public transit not help her or come to her aid, which is very human of everybody, we need to talk about that. But the man who killed her allegedly had made many attempts for people to help him. This was preventable. And now he's still responsible because his body did it. Okay? You're still responsible. The difference is, it was like this IOF soldier who used to run over Palestinians. He literally killed himself because of the trauma he experienced killing Palestinians. And everybody said, I feel so sorry for him. Yeah, I feel sorry that he lived under a government rule, under an indoctrination country, wore a uniform that symbolizes that brutality, and then had to live with the consequence of his own actions. And I think it was preventable. Had he never been an IOF soldier, had he maybe never even been Israeli, had he never signed up to kill civilians and run them over, you are also focused on the aftermath instead of understanding how your government puts you in a position, these conservative leaders, a lot of these people put you in a position and brainwash you into thinking you are worth nothing, so you must die for their wars. Okay? This was preventable. This was preventable. The genocide is preventable. Okay? Exploiting people is preventable. All this stuff is preventable. Okay? And the problem is that most people refuse to engage in a reality where it's preventable because then you would have to be responsible. And being responsible is hard. Right? Chad said, does Hassan look happy to you? I don't know what that means. What do you mean by that? What's the question? Happiness is an emotion. It goes in, I don't know what that means. I don't know what you think that means. Laurel, welcome to memberships. You just remind me of RFK Jr. talking about not having enough babies to have robust military. Exactly. RFK Jr., and as an autistic girly myself, RFK Jr. coming out and talking about how autism is preventable. Girl, like, you are not helping. You are not helping. Okay? Chad says, B, what if it's the same with the black pilot analogy regarding not anything to do with inherent characteristics rather than culture? Guys, this excuse of like, oh, I'm just talking about black culture is racism. It is racism. Okay? That is what racism is. Racism is the belief that a whole group of people have a shared culture. Black people? Who black people? Which ones? Which black people? You think all people black who are black have the same fucking culture? It's racism. That's the racism of it all. The blacks. When Charlie Kirk says the blacks, who the fuck are you talking about, Charlie? Who are you talking about, Charlie? That's the racism of it all. That's why it's racist. Chad said, what about having the same prejudice against men walking in the dark of the night? Girl. Okay. If you have a prejudice, if you are a person walking alone at night and you see a man and you're concerned he might kill you, okay, you should ask yourself, why do I think men might kill me? Okay, if you're walking down the street and you see somebody with black skin and you think they might kill me because they're black, why do you think that? And then you got to understand where the data is coming from, okay? It's interesting that black people get accused of everything one or two or three black people do, but men as a whole refuse to take responsibility for the reputation they have. It's interesting that men will say, men are afraid of walking alone at night because of other men too. And yet, God forbid I say we live under a patriarchy and men need help. God forbid I say men should question their misogyny. We all need to question our prejudice, but that prejudice needs to be deconstructed. So if the prejudice you have against people with black skin is that you're terrified they will hurt you, where does that come from? If you say to yourself, hey, I'm worried about men, but at the same time, you have to understand most of us who are still concerned about walking around with men are still married to people who are born men. We know it's not all men, but do you know it's not all black people? Because that's the question. We know it's not all men, but do you know? Does Charlie Kirk know? For Charlie Kirk to say, I'm not sure my airplane pilot who's black would be qualified is a crazy fucking statement to make. Okay? So then you have to think about that. Okay? You have to think about that. What does this even mean? Did that answer your question? Chad says it comes from the same place women feel scared. No, it doesn't, Habibi. No, it doesn't. When women are afraid of men, it is not coming from the same place as white people afraid of black people. It's not coming from the same place. 1 in 5 women are assaulted in the United States by men. 1 in 5 white people are not assaulted by black people. It's not the same fear. A lot of the assault women incur, it comes from family and friends. If you're in a white family and you don't have any black people in your family, you're not gaining that perspective. It's a completely different statistical probability. Black people make up 13% of the United States. The probability isn't even the same. You might go your whole life living in America never meeting a black person. You're not going to go your whole life living in America not meeting a man. What are you, crazy? Hello? Focus. Lock in. Lock the fuck in, bro. Crazy. Misogyny and patriarchy emboldens all men, no matter their color, of engaging in an entitlement of violence towards mostly female or femme-presenting people. But the moment we talk about it, you're like, nah, not all men, bro. All right, let's, okay. No one said all men, not me, but you are saying all black. You are. By making the argument, you are basically saying we have the right to be afraid of black people. You have the right to be concerned, but of anything, anywhere, but you have to deconstruct why you're concerned. You have to just deconstruct it. I'm not saying you can't be concerned, but to say specifically, I'm concerned about black people is a very most likely 99.999% chance racist. If you deconstruct it, okay? But I know it's hard to imagine because out loud it sounds equivalent, but it's not. It's not. It's not equivalent. It sounds like the same, but it's not. And that's why, okay, that's something else I want to talk about. How like words sound good, but they don't make sense. How words can sound really good, right? But it doesn't make sense that way. Like, right? Chat says, excuse me, but what part does his comment imply all black people? Which comment? Charlie Kirk's comment or this guy's comment? When you take a minority of people, guys, and you put the onus of responsibility on the minority, when they literally, by definition, couldn't have the manpower to even carry out what you think they're carrying out, you're putting the responsibility on all of them. When Trump comes out and says the libs and the left are responsible, the trans are responsible for this death, he is literally saying everybody in this group is responsible when we had nothing to do with it. Your language is implying you are all literally responsible. Even though most of us advocate, right, for no gun ownage, for less violence, for no death penalty, for literally all of this stuff. So it doesn't even why are you putting it on us? We are literally a minority of a minority, you know? I think the issue too is like we're all coming from a different understanding. Like you have to pop the bubbles. You got to understand we're not all operating the same, but everybody is the same. Right? Like people feel the same. We suffer the same. Like guys, Charlie Kirk's kids are going to cry as hard as the Palestinian children who lost their families and lost their parents who were orphaned in Palestine. Their kids will cry the same. The suffering is the same. Okay? But the way their parents lived their life is different. But the true source of the violence weren't just directly those people. It was the people who carried out the entitlement of wanting to kill those people. Israel is just as complicit in a genocide of killing people's parents as the shooter who killed Charlie Kirk. And look, any person that genuinely comes out here and feels like that shooter was in the right, who fundraises for that shooter, who engages in any of that, is engaging in evil, right? Can we not agree on that? Like, is that so controversial? But then you cannot say because this shooter was evil and Charlie Kirk died, people should be mourning Charlie Kirk. No. Just because you did something that was evil doesn't mean I have to be sad about it. That is two different requests. We can agree it was unethical. It would be unethical for you to then assume or make the prescription that I must now be sad. I'm sad he died an evil man. What a horrible way to die. Okay? What a horrible way to die. All right? All right, give me 2 seconds. I'll be right back. Leave your comments and questions. I'll answer them. Okay? And can I get a couple of volunteers to maybe be mods? Just FYI, being a mod doesn't make you special or interesting. I just need people to help me if like someone comes and really leaves a horrible chat while I'm gone and I don't want to get in trouble. But like also it in no way means you are like my best friend, because I know some people in this sphere thinks like, oh, being someone's mod means something. It doesn't mean anything. Just like mod the Nazis, mod the homophobia and transphobia, and like just don't let people, you know what I mean, do something really bad, okay? I'll be right back. Thank you. Okay, let's see. Okay, thank you. And you, again, don't overthink it. If you can't be here, you can't be here to do it. Just like if you're here at the same time, you know what I mean? You know, you can help. That'd be great. But like, no, you know, don't put too much pressure on yourself. Okay, I modded a couple of you. I'll be right back. Give me a second. Okay, I'm back. Thank you. Okay, muting music. 1, 2, 3. All right, thank you guys. Appreciate that. Chad said Britney's not bad, but goddamn, she can double down when wrong. I disagree. I think you guys are stupid. But I don't think you know that. And you can't know it because I don't know when I'm stupid. I know I'm stupid. Do you know you're stupid? And that's the difference between you and me. I know I'm stupid. Do you know you're stupid? Do you know that about yourself? Do you know you're stupid? Because if you do not know you're stupid, you do not have the humility to know what you're talking about. And that's the difference. Go ahead. Tell me where I double down. Because the difference is I can explain my ideas. You refuse to engage in a reality where you can't even say racism is evil, bro. I'm literally pulling teeth out here trying to get you guys to agree racism is evil. You can't even do that, bro. Like, you guys literally are fighting me on whether or not talking bad about black communities is evil, bro. That's crazy. Chad says, I just demonstrated that you're wrong, but failed to acknowledge it. Explaining it doesn't demonstrate it. Do you think Charlie Kirk was racist? And do you think racism is evil? What are you saying? How did you demonstrate I was wrong? And plus, you're always in my chat, bro. I know you're a liberal. You're always talking about Brittany. Would you talk to this streamer? Brittany, talk to this. You're a liberal, bro. You're a liberal, and you want to make friends with the fucking right. You know, be good to your neighbors, but you're the one who's always like, Brittany, you should talk to this streamer. Brittany, you should do this. You're a liberal, bro. And that's the problem. Is like, you think being nice to Nazis will make them less racist. That's not true. We know that's not true. And it sets up a narrative that minorities have to be perfect always when other people never have to be. That's the difference. That's why you're a bad thinker. You're stupid. You literally think if you're nice to a Nazi, maybe he won't kill you. Honey, I guarantee your skin is too brown for them to skip you over. And regardless of how nice they're being to you now, they will pick you up with the rest of us. Okay? But good luck with that. Good luck with hanging out with these fucking Nazis who are literally going to put you on a list, okay? And I have compassion for the conservatives who fall for the brainwashing. I have compassion for the people who are sitting here mimicking out talking points that will eventually get them targeted. And I am devastated. I'm devastated for my family. I'm devastated for people in my life. I'm like devastated for the people in my life who are falling for this fucking rhetoric. Because when it comes down to it, they will never be picked. They will never be picked by the same people they are working so hard to fight for. Okay? Jacob, welcome to memberships. Yeah, this country is beyond cooked at this point. Racism is evil and plain and simple. It is so hard to get Americans to understand they're racist. Like, it is one of the hardest issues. And the people who love America from the outside, who aren't even American, but dream about being in America, they don't get it. They don't get it, you know? Chad says, I have another question. How do we keep from creating more separation between people left and right while spreading our strong opinions, including moral judgment? Is the important thing that we still interact equally nice with people on a personal level? On a personal level, you must always be kind. But see, I'm at work right now. And that's what people are forgetting. We're at work. This is not personal. You are not my neighbor. We're online right now. I am never cruel to people in real life. I am never judgmental. I'm never going up to people and saying shit to them. Okay? But keep in mind, we live in a world where like people stand in front of like hospitals and female clinics, women's clinics, or like health clinics in general, protesting like abortion. Okay, so like you all make it really weird in public spaces as well. And so again, like public spaces have their designation for protest. But remember, like it is complicated because we all have different ideas of what's good. But unless we're actually talking about it, we're not getting there. People said, Brittany, Charlie Kirk debated ideas. No, he didn't. He debated 4 ideas. Charlie Kirk is not interested in changing his mind. He's not actually trying to change his mind. I have a clear internet footprint of me changing my mind in real time. Give me Charlie Kirk's. Give me Charlie Kirk's. I have literally updated. I've literally changed my language. I've literally stopped saying certain words. I've literally said, hey, I'm taking this video down. I was fucking so wrong in this. I don't want to spread it. Doubling down on your conservative values is not you changing your opinion. Debating people who are never actually going to change is not good. It is just platforming them. You are never actually going to change your mind. And the evidence should be the reason you change your mind, not because you feel a certain way, but because the evidence is showing. Again, I can't even get conservatives to agree. Was Charlie Kirk racist? Yes or no? The fact that you're willing to say he wasn't racist, we can't even go beyond that. What about misogynistic? How is not saying women should skip college or only go to college to find a husband? How is that not misogynistic? He would never give that advice to a man. If you would never give the advice to a man to only go to college to find a wife, then what are we talking about? You know? What are we talking about? You said, here's the argument. If Charlie Kirk is a racist for saying he's prejudiced against black people, it is equally discriminatory for women to be prejudiced against men while walking at night. No, they're not analogous. You can't equate. Nothing is equitable or equatable. Nothing is the same. Yes, women who turn their I'm going to take you in such good fucking faith right now, bitch. You better like the stream in this honor. If a woman says, if I have a male pilot, I question if they're good at their job, she's being prejudiced and it's not okay. If a woman says, oh, I don't think we should have baby boys because boys turn out to be bad people, she's prejudiced and actually misandrist. Okay. If a woman says, oh, when I see a man at the mall, I just assume he's a school shooter. Yeah, that's a prejudice you should deconstruct. Okay? Like, we should be talking about that. Okay, but if she goes on to say, and this is why I say your pain will make you bigoted, all men are evil, I would say all humans are evil, yes, but men under patriarchy are incentivized to be more evil technically than anything else, right? So the prejudice comes with a judgment of that person inherently without ever getting to know them. You don't know anything about this man, and you assuming this singular man you are looking at is less than is a prejudice. You don't know anything about this man. But if you said, generally speaking, from the way that I understand the way things, why do car insurances charge more for boys who are driving? Because boys are literally reckless. But they're not reckless because they're inherently biologically reckless. They're reckless because society allows them to be, and they actually promote them to be. You were training your boys to be reckless, okay? If you are using that prejudice to punish somebody, to judge somebody, to preach on a platform about that somebody, we should deconstruct it, okay? That's the difference. Now, the difference here is if a woman says, yeah, I'm really terrified, bro, of walking down the street and I see a group of guys, that's because statistically, she might have a higher probability of being targeted. But men will say the same thing and you won't call them prejudice. Because men will say, yeah, we're also afraid when we see a group of guys on the road. But I also know, because I have brothers and I have a partner who is born male, that they tell me every day there's no way they're ever close to being as afraid as a girl would be. They are not even afraid for themselves the way they are afraid for girls. Because they're like, oh, I know I could probably take him in a fight. You have no chance. They are terrified for the women in their life, right? Okay? So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying you're not being honest that when we talk about groups of men, we're talking about just the reality, right? That there is a fear there. And when you have people in your life say like, yeah, dude, I'm literally scared for you. I'm terrified for you, bro. It's the same feeling, the same way I feel like I am terrified when my brothers say, should I join the military? I'm terrified for them because I think they're going to die in the name of a war that isn't justifiable. And I have a reason to be terrified for them. And the same reason they have a reason to be terrified for me when I'm walking down the street. I'm terrified for you, bro. I'm terrified. I want you to be safe. Okay? I want you to be safe. So when we have these conversations, we're saying, why do you have this prejudice? Why does Charlie Kirk have a prejudice against black pilots? Because he thinks black people are being given jobs they're not qualified for, which isn't even true. It isn't even true. If anything, the nepotism with white babies is that white people are more likely to get jobs they're not qualified for. But here, let me pop a bubble for you. Most of us, if not all of us, are in jobs we're probably not qualified for. Most of us, if not all of us, are actually probably not as qualified for our jobs as we let on. Especially since you know it is so normal for people to encourage you to lie on your resumes. Okay? That's the difference. The difference is very important. The why is very important, okay? You said, okay, and what is prejudice, guys? Prejudice is not good. You don't want prejudice in your life. You want to deconstruct, you want to fight your prejudice. That's the point. You said, what if it's the same reason why white people are saying they are prejudiced against black people? Because it's statistically more likely. It is not statistically more likely. It is not statistically more likely that a black person will hurt you than a white person. It is not statistically more likely. That is not true. That is the bullshit. That's the racism. That's the racism. It is not true. That's why you're racist, bro, because you're buying into talking points that aren't real. That's the racism. It's not true. It's not true. You're making me have to blow my nose on stream. You made me so happy. Okay, DEI and affirmative action aren't giving jobs to people who aren't qualified, chatters. I see you. That's not what those programs do, and they're not even perfect programs. Most progressives don't even believe in DEI or affirmative action, you fucking losers. You fucking stupid people. Listen to the facts. I love you. Peace and love. Peace and love, my brothers. I wish, peace and love. Okay, listen. Most progressives think those systems are inherently racist and not good for the advantage of minority people. But they certainly aren't giving unqualified people positions of power. You're stupid. You don't know better. And because you don't know better, you will advocate for bullshit that will eventually add to the evil of the world. You are not helping. Okay? Discourse said all of this is really making me appreciate Brittany's usual chats. Let me just tell you, bro. Okay? Just as you just argued Charlie's point. No, I am not arguing Charlie's point. See, here's the dilemma. Progressives want to move past this and add and tackle the prejudice. Charlie's point cannot be rap music is evil and dangerous and black people are being jobs are not given to progressives' desire to move past the idea of even going towards skin color. They are literally not the same point. You cannot be somebody who's advocating for less racism while also being racist. They are completely different fucking points. I'll draw you a picture. I'll draw you a picture. Call me Picasso. Okay. Charlie's points live here. Okay. Progressives live here. Okay. So, okay. Nope. Let me beep, 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 beep. Okay. So, Charlie's points are black culture is bad. Black culture encourages thuggery and prison systems and drugs and twerking, which, okay, listen. Okay, Charlie's points are black people are being given jobs they're not qualified for. Progressives are saying, hey, yeah, let's leave all of that behind and just move forward into realizing skin color doesn't dictate the value of a person. They're not the same. They're not the same. Black people, minority people, brown people, gay people would never even need to, the system would never need to even integrate integration or anti-racist rhetoric if y'all weren't so fucking racist. If white people, Charlie Kirk's, conservatives weren't also fucking bigoted, we would never even have to have this. It's because of white racists that a little black girl who's 6 years old, Ruby Bridges, has to literally be taken with a protection detail into school. If you didn't have this belief, we wouldn't exist. Progressives are a result of your Christianity, your Islam, your belief in like patriarchal gods. Like progressives were raised by mostly conservatives. Y'all were the product of your belief system, and we're saying nah. We're saying I love you, mom and dad. Nah. Okay. Chad says, well, saying it's racist doesn't refute the position. Honestly, bro, I've given you like 7 months to get my content, to learn how I speak, to understand my positions. And for the love of God, you cannot get it. You're blocked. I have been so kind to this chatter. I've been so fucking open. I've been so patient. You just haven't gotten it. You're fucking stupid. And you're just like everybody else whose stupidity will ruin the world. Stupid people ruin the world, myself included. And see the difference? I add myself into it. I've been so kind to this person. I have been so good to this person. And trust me, you guys, you might be next. So don't piss me off today. Because I swear to God, the way you are so willing to be so soft-hearted towards these fucking bigoted people, specifically, and not just the fact that this situation happened, is the point. Chet says, I'll entertain your arguments and ask this. What would your solution be to do away with systematic racism? Well, great question. Take it out of the policies, right? There's so many issues that, from redlining to the way we draw, or the way we do our voting, from the way we give funding to different neighborhoods, the food deserts, the fact that we don't give certain neighborhoods the same amount of chance of liberating its people, the fact that the police are literally systematically oppressing people of color, moving into neighborhoods they shouldn't even be in, the fact that police officers are policing neighborhoods they don't even belong to. So it's not even the community uplifting the community. The fact that Trump wants to take immunity away from police officers, or give them immunity, meaning like resisting arrest should never be illegal. Hear me when I say this. Resisting arrest should never be illegal. You should not have to be under the you should not have to be basically trapped or enslaved or mutilated or brutalized by a person in uniform simply because they have a uniform, right? Take away separation of church and state. Remove the church and religiosity from policy. You can be religious. I support your right to be religious, but your bigotry cannot infiltrate policy. Remember, oh my God, let me show you this TikTok. Hold on, I got you. Hold on, let me show you a couple of TikToks. Okay, let me show you. Hold on, I got you. Let me show you this one. Hold on. This is the thing with Charlie, okay? Charlie advocated for his religiosity to be impacted into policy. That's the difference, right? That's why it's really, really bad, is that ultimately Charlie Kirk did want to use religion to impact policy.
Okay,
so
let's talk about
Britt Hartley put out a really good video today on her TikTok about Charlie Kirk and his desire to move religious doctrine into public policy, right?
it. I am very careful on my platform that I don't respond to public pressure, that I have a public opinion about everything, because I am educated in one thing, and that is religion in America. That is my expertise. That is my master's degree. That is what I have to speak intelligently on. So part of my own ethical guidelines is to stay in my lane. I don't want to become like a Jordan Peterson character who starts making very public statements about things well outside his area of expertise. So with that caveat, I'm listening to various political aspects.
Hold on, pause. Chad, you're saying Charlie is saying some black people are put into a position they shouldn't be based off what they're individually capable of. Brittany, at least try to understand the argument. I'm going to block you too. I am not, okay? That is not what Charlie is saying. If you walk into a room and say, if I see a black pilot, I say, oh, I hope they're qualified. That's not you criticizing a possible individual. That's you saying all black people I see, I'm going to assume are not qualified. Okay? Chad, if we got rid of policing, the prison system, where do we progress from there? I never said that. I don't know why you heard me say that. I'm anti-policing the way that it exists, but we wouldn't get rid of law and justice. We would just make sure the law was justice. Because right now it's not, and you know it. The fact that there are innocent people in prison right now should shake you to your core.
Aspects of this conversation. I'm listening to people who represent marginalized communities in this conversation, and the only piece that I have to add is when Charlie Kirk was asked how he wanted to be remembered if he died someday, and there's a clip of this, you can find it. He thinks about it for a second, and then he says, I want to be remembered for my courage, for my faith. And that is
I showed that clip on stream yesterday, right? He wanted to be remembered for his courage and his faith. Chad said, are we assuming he would say this if DI didn't exist? You guys forget I'm old and I've been following politics my whole life. Before DI, there was affirmative action. Before affirmative action, there was integration. At the end of the day, whether you like it or not, the Republicans and the conservatives have been racist from fucking day one. The same people that support Andrew Jackson's Trail of Tears because natives are savage. The same people that say, well, if black people treated, if they acted with dignity, we wouldn't come at them. The same people that were angry that black people drank from the same water fountains I don't understand why you can't get it. Charlie Kirk made the argument that Martin Luther King Jr. was a bad person. I mean, he cheated on his wife, so he's a bad person. But because of his activism as a black man, he was a bad person. I know you don't watch Charlie, and I know you think I don't watch Charlie, but that's the problem, and that's the difference between you and me. Not only have I read thousands of books, many from conservative thinkers, but I have watched videos. I make sure before I make a statement, and I tell you if I don't know. Most of the time when I'm making a statement, it's because I've watched. I'm like, no, I already watched their content, bro. So again, you have to understand that I understand the flaw of man is simply that they exist. The responsibility of man is they do something about it. Okay, I'm going to watch Brittany without interrupting her now.
Is something that I can comment on. So to respect Charlie's wishes here, let's talk about how he defended his faith and what his faith looked like, because he repeatedly argued that the US should reflect Christian values in law and governance, and he promoted the Seven Mountain Mandate, which is an encouragement for Christians to get involved in government and media and education and really be able to take power in America. When he spoke at faith events like Turning Point Faith in 2024, he talked about birth control and how it makes women angry and bitter, and it's turning young ladies into unhappy people who are not staying in the home and focusing on family. He has used his faith to also really come down hard on gay marriage and trans rights. And he has also created an environment where political issues really are a part of spiritual warfare. And so he's pushed pastors and churches and Christians to be politically active and to mobilize in order to be a part of this actual spiritual warfare instead of looking at these issues politically. He said that he was sick of pastors becoming passive, and he urged them to get on board with Donald Trump. So I'm not cheering that we're in a place in America where you are in a public debate forum in front of children and get pew-pewed. That's not something that I feel is appropriate to cheer about. And also because we're going to be holding multiple emotions at once here. And also I think it's okay to say Charlie Kirk, in his wishes, wished to be remembered for his Christian faith. Charlie wanted to be remembered for his faith, and as he becomes a martyr for that faith, I think it's a discussion worth having, again, alongside other discussions that are worth having, but I am not the voice piece for. It's worth having the discussion about what he was a...
Pause. Chatter, why did you super chat me for this? If you're defending Charlie in this chat, there's no reason to be upset about him being gone. You'll see him in hell soon enough. Why would you write this on my chat? What part of my content even believes in hell? Why would you write that? How is that helpful? Thank you for paying me. How is that helpful? Why did you write that? Why would this channel promote that thinking, guys? Process what you just said. You'll see Charlie in hell soon enough. What hell? Hell doesn't exist. That's not helpful. That's not helpful. Okay? Like, that's not helpful. So why would you write that? Think. Go meditate right now. Go sit in the corner and meditate.
He was a martyr for, and whether that version of Christianity really represents the best of Christianity. Christianity has a scripture that says, by your fruits ye shall know them. And so I think it's important to add to the conversation, what were the fruits of his rhetoric and his version of Christianity, not just to him personally, but also for us as a nation. And because political assassinations are never just about the person, it's also about everything that they represent and everything that they support and the effect that they have on the world. So like many of you, I'm sitting with a lot of complex feelings. I'm listening to a lot of complex conversations that touch different areas of life here. But what I wanted to add to the conversation was that Charlie wanted to be remembered for his faith. And so I think part of that conversation also needs to be, do Christians especially, do we really want theocracy? And do we really want theocracy combined with the level of...
When she says we, she doesn't mean we Christians. She means we people, because she's an atheist.
Unrestrained gun violence that we have in America. Is this really what we want? So as Charlie turns into a legacy, martyrs usually do one of two things. They either support even more gaining of power, or they subvert power as a kind of cautionary tale. And my hope, which probably won't happen, but my hope would be this becomes a wake-up call and a cautionary tale that maybe this is not the best version of Christianity. And maybe when we mix Christianity with politics and try to create theocracy, we actually get the worst of religion, and it brings out also the worst in people. So at this point, I respect the grief of those who grieve him as a person. I tried to stay away from the video, but as a perpetually online person, it's hard to avoid at this point. I will never forget it. It's like imprinted into my brain. It's one of the worst things that I've seen. I had a huge biological response when I saw it. Same. And it was awful. And then to hear about the college students who were there, who were genuinely afraid for their life, all of that, just it's terrible. It's awful. And also, Charlie wanted me to remember him for his faith. And I will. Maybe not in the way that he wanted, as far as how I view his representation of Christianity, but he asked me to remember him for his faith. And I will.
Okay.
Okay.
So, here's the difference, okay? Making sure people. Okay, so Chatter says, Brittany, exactly for the previous super chat is why I can't believe in good intentions from the left. The resentment is so big that it fuels hatred. Disgusting. You're stupid. And I know you don't know you're stupid, but you are. Because you have the audacity to look at one super chatter and think, oh, yes, this represents a whole group of billions of people. Hi, hello. Can you do the fucking math? Even I don't do that to conservatives, and that's the difference. Guys, I have 1,000 comments on my video telling me to go kill myself, and I'm sitting here going, man, people got to go to therapy, bro. Okay? There's thousands of comments telling me to go fucking kill myself from conservatives. And you know what I kept thinking? I hope these people get therapy, bro. I'm sad for them. I don't have to trust the conservative, like people who are conservatives. I already know your policies. But I don't sit here and say, oh, I can never trust a conservative. I can never trust the conservatives. It's not about trusting the conservatives. It's about realizing that people are hurt. And when you are hurt and fearful, you become ugly. And you're stupid. And I'm stupid. I need you to really process that you're stupid. If you cannot do that because it hurts your feelings, you're not old enough to have this conversation. And this is the difference when you talk to your parents. So they're like, oh, you think I'm stupid? You need to know you're stupid. Because if you don't know you're stupid, you're not going to help anybody. Okay? Know yourself. Tao Te Ching. Those who know both their masculine and their feminine sides become fruitful like the valleys of the earth. Being like the valleys of the earth, their vitality will not desert them. They will remain energetic as children. Those who know both their strengths and their limits become models worth following. Being worthy models, their vitality will not fail them. Okay? They will radiate simplicity. Radiating simplicity, wise rulers inspire others to follow their path. Such is the making of great administration. I am not a wise ruler, girl. I'm learning. 29, power, Tao Te Ching. Those who try to seize power and remake society will fail. Charlie Kirk spent his life gaining and wanting power. Advocating for President Trump, who wants nothing but power over your lives. Society is a divine thing that cannot be remade. One who attempts to remake it will only deface it. You cannot want the world to be different than it is until you change yourself. The world is a reflection of us as a whole, okay? Those who grasp for power will lose it. If you wanted power, you're just saying, I want destruction. Oh, I know being a dictator is bad, but maybe if I'm the dictator, it'll be good. No. People differ. Some lead, others follow. That is true. It's, people who lead are not always seeking power, guys, right? Some are passionate, others reserved. Some are strong, others weak. Some succeed, others fail. The wise respect the roles of all and seek moderation in all things. Okay? You have got to first know about why you're having this relationship with self. And listen to me when I say this, when people are like, oh, Brittany, do not quote Tao Te Ching. You know nothing of Buddhism. You don't have to know anything about Buddhism to learn from the good. You don't have to know anything about Islam to see the good. You don't have to know anything about Christianity to see the good. But you must know with wisdom to see the bad. You must also be able to see something that gives you good and see something that also gives you bad. No system, no belief system, nothing created from one singular person or thought process is going to be the answer. Okay? It's not about Buddhism or not Buddhism and Tao Te Ching, not Tao Te Ching, right? And yeah, Tao is Taoism, but the point this chatter's trying to make though, let's focus on that, right? Because this person doesn't have to know anything about the Tao to get inspiration from the words. Okay? That's the point. You don't have to know anything about the Quran to see wisdom in the words, but you don't have to know anything about the Quran to see the issue with some of the words. Same with the Bible. Again, you are doing this black and white thing, and I'm saying don't black and white life. Life is too interesting, too diverse, too fascinating, right? To spend your life so limited because you're unwilling to engage in the reality that you're wrong. Okay, like I said, I have actual fucking proof that I've spent so much of my career correcting my wrongs. You don't see that. Conservatism by definition, guys, is stagnation. Progressivism by definition is moving forward. It doesn't mean leftist policy doesn't have its limitations. That's why I don't do politics. Because if you're political, you only exist within the construct of the political bubble. You can't actually fight for what's good through politics. Politics is not good. It's evil. It's evil, bro. And it's not about both sides, guys. There are no both sides. If you say within your rhetoric, oh, both sides have problems, you've already failed. There are no both sides. There are simply 8 million individual lives living in collectives. We are not both sides. There are never, ever going to be both sides. Oh, Palestine and Israel, both sides. There are no both sides. Oh, a marriage and a relation, both sides. There are no both sides. There are no both sides. Are we serious about doing less harm? Are we serious about being kind? Are we serious about harm reducing? Because I don't think you're serious. You must first humble yourself and know that you are wrong. But see how that doesn't pay off in America? Trump mostly got elected. Charlie Kirk was mostly liked because he was obnoxiously narcissistic, because he was an egotistical man who showed up and yelled louder than everybody else. In 2016, when Trump ran against Hillary, he said and doubled down in his conversation about locker room talk. Do you think it is wrong that people in positions of power feel entitled to people's bodies as sexual objects because, quote, they'll just let you? Do you think a good person would have said that and doubled down on it in 2016? And I'm saying you need to focus in. You need to say, is this a good thing to do today? Every single thing you do, think about it. Is this a good thing to do today? Does this help? Does this cause more? That's the question. Okay. Chet said, I don't think it's a good idea to diagnose people like that. Okay. First of all, did I say he had NPD? Narcissism, everybody has. I'm sorry you're uneducated. Let's go back to basics. Everybody has narcissism. Healthy narcissism, unhealthy narcissism. Not everybody has narcissistic personality disorder, which is NPD. Narcissism is high on the ego scale. Most political leaders, activists have to have a healthy dose of narcissism. When it reaches unhealthy doses of narcissism, it usually comes at the expenses of others. The expense of others and often the person who's exhibiting the narcissism, like Trump, like Charlie Kirk. It comes at the expense of others. Okay? You said egoism is a better phrase. It is a possible replacement for the phrase, but I don't think it's necessary given the context of the conversation, right? CJ with the super chat says, my bad, girl. I was just being petty to the people who said racism isn't evil. I don't believe in hell. I was just kind of mad. Hey, Based, thank you for the apology. And thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that, okay? At the end of the day, I don't think you're being good faith. I think by the way that you were acting in this chat, you never even paused to think, can you say with your full chest right now that Charlie Kirk was a bad person? And that you would have liked to have seen him die a good person? Okay? That's the dilemma and that's the difference. At the end of the day, I wanted to see Charlie Kirk die a good person. And the fact that you guys are saying he is a good person already is the problem. How can a man who said the most disgusting things for a living, okay? How can you say that he died a good person? Okay? And look, this comment here, you need to show the whole videos, not just parts that make him look bad. Shame on you. I don't know how to tell you guys this. Charlie Kirk was a bad person. He advocated for the most disgusting and deplorable things. I don't have to show him, quote, in context or out of context. His clips are in context. Those are his beliefs. He is a Christian nationalist. He is pro-life. He said abortions are worse than the Holocaust. There's no context for that. That is the context. I don't understand why you're struggling with this. Monkey D. Trevi, thank you so much for the super chat. Appreciate you. Spoon emojis in the chat. Thank you. I think you guys are really struggling with the fact that this man really advocated for evil things and you just can't help it because he probably reminds you of someone you love. I get it. I also have conservative family. Yeah, it pains me to think that my conservative family would be hurt one day by somebody. But I also know for a fact that my conservative family advocates every day for policies that hurt me every day, and I still love them so much. And the difference is that they call it a difference of opinion, but they know it's more than that. You know it's more than that, right? Chad says, do you think if he apologized or changed his views and apologized for his past remarks and did everything right, that his death would have been a different reaction? Yeah, of course. Yeah, I also think a lot of things would have been different, right? It's like the Hila Klein situation where instead of Hila making her whole reputation talking about the corruption of the IOF, she just talks about hey, it's not my fault. I was forced to do it. yeah, that doesn't change anything, right? It's like the soldiers from Iraq who dedicated their life to saying what we did over there was evil. They're they're good people. I don't want to say heroes because that's a patriarchal construct, but like they are good people. They did bad things and they were bad people. And then they came back and said, we regret this with our whole chest. We did evil things. And then some of them died good people. Yeah. I think the only thing we can strive to do is maybe die good people. And even then it's probably, you know. Okay. Chet says, I'm always open to humble myself and take a step back and learn, but is being called stupid for finding disgusting a super chat that is really the way. Okay, I need you to put this into context. So you're more disgusted at a super chat that was inappropriate and said you guys are going to hell to meet Charlie Kirk there, but do you not understand that Charlie Kirk thinks I'm going to hell? Guys, Charlie Kirk is a Christian. He thinks most people are going to hell. Do you not understand that he believes you're going to hell? And he actually believes in it. This chatter doesn't even believe in hell. They're just being petty. Charlie Kirk actually thinks you're going to boil alive for eternity. So, yeah, I think you're fucking stupid. Call it ignorant, call it like uneducated, call it what you want to call it, but it's you're being fucking disingenuous at most. Or if you like that word better. Charlie Kirk literally believed you were going to hell. That's the point I'm trying to make. This man doesn't care about you. He believes you're going to literal hell. Literal hell. I don't even believe in hell. Okay? Chad says, I don't celebrate Charlie Kirk's death. I'm indifferent. He was a legitimately bad person acting in bad faith. He was a white supremacist as an Indian man. I would have bet he would have called me a rapist. Oh, definitely. The white supremacists love being racist against Indian people from India in general. Have you seen the whole anti-Indian meme that's coming out lately? Y'all are fucking racist. You need to chill on that, bro. Okay? So, like, you need to, like, ground yourself and humble yourself. That you don't know the difference between a petty super chat, which I lectured them about, and a man who made a whole career advocating for y'all to see hell. Okay? That's the difference. You will never hold other people to the standard. You will cry over a man who would never cry over your death. This man never liked you, never cared about you, and honestly reveled in the idea that he thinks him and his family are going to heaven while the rest of your family burn in hell. That's the man you're sad over? Okay? No thanks, girls. No thanks, okay? Yeah, how about this? Charlie Kirk, black women have the brain processing power to have high-performing... Wait, what is this? Black women don't have the brain processing power to have high-performing jobs and are taking our spot from a white person. Charlie Kirk is burning in hell. Yeah, he's burning somewhere, maybe. I don't believe in hell. Okay? That's the issue. Because is Brittany not suggesting you censor yourself, but do you really think it's good faith to call people stupid? Listen... I am trying to get it through to you because obviously it's not working when I hold your hand. I was holding people's hands all day yesterday and today, and you weren't getting it. The chatters who have been in my chat arguing with me for 7 months, I've been so fucking nice to them. If being nice to you isn't going to work, just like being nice to a Nazi will make them not a Nazi, let me make it clear. You are fucking stupid. And you deserve to realize that about yourself. Because until you realize it, you will not humble yourself. Nothing is more humbling than realizing you're a fucking idiot. Nothing humbled me more than realizing how fucking stupid I was. So if you're not going to be humbled through kindness, you can be humbled this way. Okay? I am acting the same way towards you that helped me realize I got to get my shit in order because I'm fucking stupid. And I'm saying humble yourself because you're not doing it. I have to hold your hand to say being racist against black people is evil? You're fucking stupid. I cannot believe you have the audacity to come in my chat and ask me to be kind and patient with people who are too stupid not to think black people, brown people, gay people, trans people aren't inherently bad because of the way they're born. See how I have to do all the emotional labor? See how we have to do all the emotional labor? And you want us to be nice to people who are willing to say, I hope you burn in hell, that you're all fucking predators? To say that, oh, because this one person did this, now we're all guilty? You want me to be more kind and compassionate than you could ever muster? I'll meet you in the middle. How about that? You start. Do you think Charlie Kirk died a racist? Yes or no? Stars and Nights, thank you so much for the super chat. Because they value humans differently, we have to be giving selective empathy for long. Oh, we have been giving selective empathy for long. It's what is demanded of us. Racist jokes are okay, but not this. Wait, hold up. What does that mean? Racist jokes are okay, but not this? What does that mean? Oh yeah, like they're allowed to make racist jokes, but we can't even call you stupid. Yeah, like is that what you mean? Right? Like they can do everything. They can, like, guys, go read my chat. Go read this chat. Okay, 1,000 comments telling me to basically kill myself, telling people I'm gonna go find you. There's people in this chat saying I'm gonna come find you. You're a hateful person. You're a horrible person. You're the worst kind of person. Like, guys, all I did was say this guy was a bad person. So simply saying this guy's a bad person makes you feel justified in saying all of this shit here. I thought it was just an opinion. I thought opinions was just a difference of opinion. Oh, so it's a difference of opinion when Charlie Kirk says black women aren't qualified for jobs, but I can't say he's a bad person? Is that the work? Is that like how it works? Okay, cool. You guys can go read those comments. They're fucking crazy. Okay? So that's the reality. I call him a bad person and say killing him is injustice. You come out of my comments and say, go kill yourself. I'm going to find you. Cool. Got it. Chad said, I think Destiny and David Pakman are bad people. Me too. Yeah, them too. Fuck them. David Pakman is a Zionist apologist, and Destiny is a literal predator. Fuck both of them too. Bad people. 100%. Yeah. They are on the other side of bad. Again, everybody is bad, but everyone is having a different relationship with the bad. Okay, hold on. Let me pull this up. So, okay, we covered this yesterday. There's a line in the sand. Okay, actually, we'll go very bad. Okay. Normal levels of bad. Okay. Actually, we'll just say bad. Okay. Everybody is bad and everybody is good, but everyone is on a different level of bad and good. People over here, okay, engage in evil like littering and making fun of somebody and maybe flipping somebody off at the grocery store. These people have sex with children, advocate for genocide, support racism, and make excuses for fascism. See how we're different? But it's all evil? Because evil is an umbrella term to explain the relationship with good and bad. But you see how it's all bad, but it's not equal bad? Okay? You don't want to be on the very bad side. You want to be on this side. Okay? Because you can't be perfect. There's no such thing as a perfect human. So I'm never going to tell you to be perfect. I will engage in badness. Maybe I'm too lazy to I'm just giving an example. Maybe my dog shits on the sidewalk and I don't pick it up. Fuck, I'm a bad person, but I don't have the spoons. Okay, that's not equal to throwing live puppies into a moving river like that one girl did. Remember that one girl who took live puppies and threw them into the river? Yeah, they're both bad, not the same kind of bad. The problem is you don't want to engage in a reality where you're bad, so you refuse to engage in a reality where you need to be better. If you do not know you are bad, you will not try to be good. If you do not know you are stupid, you will not attempt to be smart. And that's the dilemma, okay? That's the dilemma, okay? Chat says, let's listen to this angry, chronically online person about morality. Hey, bro, you're the one in my fucking chat, stupid. You're the one in my fucking chat, my bro. You're literally the one in my chat. I pay my bills doing this. What are you doing here, loser? Like, bro, it makes sense. Come on, lock in. God, see, this person's probably just stupid, so they're probably just bad. You know, like, God, they don't even, like, they're so not self-aware. I'm at work. I'm working. What are you doing? I clocked in today. I'm clocked in. I'm making money. What are you doing? And after this, I'm going to fucking feed my cat and hang out with my partner and fucking probably say hi to some of my neighbors. You know what I mean? What are you doing? I'm at work. Stupid, bro. Crazy. You know? Chad said, wait, Destiny is a predator? Bro, y'all are so behind, bro. He's literally facing a felony in Florida. I cannot believe. This is what I'm saying. All these people who do not understand how shitty everybody is. Because, like, I know you can't pay attention to everything. I know you can't pay attention to everything. I understand it. I understand that you can't keep tabs on everything. You can't see what everyone's doing. But that's the issue with Charlie Kirk. So many people wanted to defend Charlie Kirk like he was just some guy because you don't know his work. Because you don't know it. And I understand. I fell for it too. When I was clapping with Destiny, I didn't know anything about him. I didn't know. And that was my fault for not doing the research. Okay? That was my fault. Okay? But that's the problem. Is like, okay, but now we know better. We got to do better. Okay? Chad says, Kitty, thank you for welcome to memberships. Charlie Kirk was killed. His beliefs were his beliefs. I don't think anyone should be murdered for his beliefs. Are you comparing a comment in your feed to assassination? You are stupid too. This is what I'm saying. Who said Charlie Kirk should die for his beliefs? That's the logical fallacy here. What do you mean? Blocked, by the way, blocked. Nobody said that. I don't think anyone should die, period. That's why people aren't listening. No one should die, period. No one should be dying except on your natural deathbed. But they don't believe me because they are violent people. They don't believe me because they know that most people are violent. Most people think people should be killed. I don't. I am genuinely rare, even from a progressive standpoint. A lot of progressives are more than happy to see people die. I'm not one of those people. I don't think anyone should be. You know? So people they don't believe you. They don't believe you because they could never fathom being that person. But lots of people agree with me. They're just, maybe not the majority. But a lot of people believe that, Jess said, Brittany, you've definitely grown and it shows. I feel like your reaction is so much more grounded than it would have been a few years ago. Oh, for sure, bro. Appreciate that. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I think that's the dilemma is like, I want people to hear me that everything I say should be built on a foundation that I don't think anyone should be killed. Okay, now we can have a conversation. But until we start there, okay, even when you engage in self-defense, okay, I don't think it's ethical that you have to kill someone to defend yourself, but I think it is more ethical to do it. Okay, let's talk about it. Killing in self-defense is bad, but it's not the same as murdering somebody not in self-defense, okay? Political liberation is always the conversation that comes up, right? Like you should mourn if you have to kill an enemy, but you should also have no enemies. Right? You as a community, I shouldn't be put in a position to have to engage in self-defense. The fact that I'm in a position to engage in self-defense means something has gone wrong. As a fellow community member, you should not put me in a position to have to self-defend myself. And the fact that I'm in this position means something went wrong 10 steps ago, right? So obviously we have to engage in self-defense, but you should mourn, okay? You should mourn. You should mourn. And that's the issue. Is like you're not mourning, right? Where is it? Hold on. And I know, chat, you're not ready for the conversation, right? Because you're in my chat saying like self-defense isn't bad. You're not listening to me. You're not listening to me. You're not listening, right? The rulers who rejoice over killing others will never bring happiness to their people. The killing of others fills the people with sorrow. We lament with tears because of it. And honor the victors solemnly. Man, I say that word so good all the time and never on stream. As if we were attending a funeral ceremony. You're not listening. You can win a war and pay homage to the people you killed. It's about being wise. It's not about being celebratory over the death of others, which I know is very American. America celebrates the death of others. It's kind of like what we're built on. I was around during 9/11. I saw the way people cheered for Saddam and bin Laden and all that other stuff. I get it. You want to celebrate. I get why I see men in other countries doing the same thing. It's not like the Taliban and Hamas and Israel and all these other people aren't celebrating the death. I get it. But I'm saying it's wrong. It's wrong. And the patriarchy encourages these men to pick violence instead of peace because that's what they're told real men do. You know? And I'm saying it's wrong. So when you kill something like an animal, my brother has a farm and he kills animals for his family. He prays over every single animal and thanks them for their life, right? From a vegan perspective, it's still bullshit. But at least from his perspective, it's about paying respect to the animal that died to feed your family, right? Chad said, I agree with you, Brittany, but could you condemn, for example, the black person who were harmed by Charlie's rhetoric for not giving a fuck that he died or even being happy for it? Because I can't. But could you condemn, for example, the black people who were harmed by Charlie's rhetoric for not giving a fuck that he died and even being happy for it? Because I can't. Like their bubble would not allow them to feel anything for his death? What are you asking me? But could you condemn, for example, the black people? I'm not condemning anybody. I'm not condemning anybody. Why are you asking me this question? I can understand how every person does what they do. But if we're talking about harm reduction, I'm not sure what you're saying, right? If you're a minority who feels persecuted by Charlie Kirk and you feel happy he's dead, I would deconstruct that. If you feel relieved he's dead, I would deconstruct it. But I think good. Again, I'll say it yesterday. Feeling relieved, feeling indifferent, feeling apathetic, feeling like sad, all of those are valid reactions, right? To Charlie's death. Feeling happy, feeling gleeful, feeling ecstatic, feeling elated, like, yeah, no. But also, I know why you might think that's reasonable, but no more reasonable than anyone else who feels that way about killing somebody else. We shouldn't feel excited that people have died. Okay? That's all I'm saying is like the premise of the conversation is thus. Zoom out. Should we feel excited, happy, joyful? Guys, happy! Oh my God, joyful! Or should we feel sad and apathetic if at most, or, you know, are you asking me if people should be like, oh my God, someone died? Are you asking me that right now? Because don't you look kind of crazy? Don't I look really fucking crazy right now? Because you look crazy. But the world is a violent, crazy place. So no, I don't think you should be fucking happy someone died. But you do you, bitch. You're going to do it anyways. It's not about black people either, or minorities. It's about people in general. Okay? Chet said, white women using her platform to tell minorities how they should feel when a racist, misogynist, homophobic dies. What is this? The other side are now the conservatives lecturing, or the progressives lecturing me? What's happening? What's happening? What's going on? What's happening? Are the conservatives and the progressives like the far? What is happening? Okay? Your reaction is your own. Talk to your therapist about it. Chad said that would be the leftists. Well, there is a group of people that are left. Guys, leftist isn't a monolithic experience. We're all leftists. We're all just different, okay? Most people, 90% of the population feels vindictive over people's death. And I'm saying we should stop that. I'm not lecturing minorities. I'm lecturing my YouTube sphere. But if you don't like it, you don't like it. I don't think you could justify celebrating people's death. I think you are allowed to feel relieved, but I don't think it's ethical or moral to celebrate someone's death. Okay? Have you ever had an abuser die? You're allowed to feel relieved. But I think it's ugly to want them dead. I think it's bad for you. I think you're suffering. I think it is worse for you, even if nobody hears it. You know what I mean? Right? I think it's bad for you personally. I would want to liberate you from holding on to that anger, because that anger turns you into a bad person instead of a good person, right? Anger that turns into healing is beneficial for the community. Anger that turns into bitterness is a weapon used against the community, right? Yeah. Chat said it's like holding a grudge. It's bad for you. It hurts you more than the other person. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Like feeling relieved that somebody died is different than because now they can't hurt you, right? But feeling excited somebody died, it feels more vindictive than just thinking that person won't hurt me. It's like wanting to see someone suffer isn't good for you, right? Wanting to see people suffer is never good. I know why you feel it. I'm saying take it out with your therapist. You're not, because it's a human experience, guys, to feel really angry at people. You're like, I hope they fucking die. I hear you. Talk to a therapist. Talk to a meditation teacher. Go take a deep breath. Okay, the Jews killed Jesus because they were angry. Y'all keep saying you're Christian, but you're acting like a mob ready to crucify. Okay? You think you're different than the mob, but if you become a mob and you're willing to crucify, then you run into the same problem. Okay? Okay? Skirple? Thank you for being a member for 4 months. Says be happy by becoming a member instead, folks. Exactly. Okay? That's all I'm saying. It's not good for you. I'm not lecturing people. I'm not saying you should do that. I'm not lecturing like Black communities or something, right? Like I'm telling you, no matter who you are, I want better for you. But you're allowed to have feelings and you should talk to somebody about those feelings, right? Chat says, wondering from a philosophical perspective, should people have celebrated the death of Hitler? I get not celebrated murder, but it's hard not to celebrate the end of a war. Well, those are two different things, right? Celebrating the end of the war is not the same thing as celebrating Hitler's death. Hitler's death might have symbolized the end of the war, but what it symbolized was the fact that the person who was the head in the command no longer was going to give those orders. But no, celebrating the death of Hitler, yeah, I don't think is what people should be celebrating, right? We should be celebrating. Chad said Charlie Kirk is not Hitler. He would have voted for him, though. That's what I don't understand how you're not getting. Charlie Kirk 100% supported Hitler propaganda in all of his work. In all of his work. In all of his work. But Hitler was just a man who thought he was right. And isn't that the most dangerous thing in the whole world? Nothing more dangerous than a man who thinks he's right. Okay? Nothing more dangerous. So you don't need to celebrate the death of Hitler. You need to celebrate the fact that the war is over, the fact that the Holocaust is over, the fact that liberation is coming. But remember, in the same way that it was so easy to round up the Jews and put them into trains, it has been that easy to genocide the Palestinians. And that is something we all should contend with. We have a lot to answer for, and we have no one to answer to. There is no God. There is no overlord. There is no king. There's only ourselves. And we have a lot to answer for. And so while Charlie Kirk is spending or did spend his limited time on earth, and it was very limited, espousing talking points of hatred, he could have been doing so much for people, and he didn't. And so I beg you, if you would like to be a good person and die a good person, be nothing like this man who spent every waking moment being a hateful, bigoted person. Anger doesn't make you a bad person, but what you do with that anger can. Sadness doesn't make you a bad person, but what you do with that sadness can. Weakness doesn't make you a bad person, but what you do when you are weak can. Okay? And that's what I want for you guys. I want it for everybody. Now, what I want doesn't matter, right? Like Brittany saying this is what she wants. It doesn't matter. But I want you to know how I really feel or think about things. In case I too die one day, maybe sooner than planned, but hopefully I'll die at like 80 or something. But I don't know that I'll die a really good person, but I'm going to try by being less of a bad person every day. Right? Chessa, do you think Christian nationalists have an easier time being hateful since they assume everyone is born a sinner evil? Yeah. I think the narcissism that naturally stems from religious belief is baked into a doctrine that pits us against them naturally. Yeah, the sinners and the non-sinners. But even Jesus preached to the false prophets, right? Right? Even Jesus preached and said, how can you, I forget the exact quote because I've been out of religion so long, but like using the temple of the Lord for things that are so against him, right? It's like this idea of like his justified anger in that moment, right? The one time they said Jesus was maybe angry is like the injustice of it all. Okay? And remember, like, there's a reason why modern Christians, they don't really live up to Jesus's doctrine. Not that I in any way support Jesus as a idea, right? But it is one of those things where, like, Jesus was literally a peace bringer. So how would a peace bringer advocate for the genocide of Palestinians, right? Like, it just doesn't make sense. Why would a peace bringer be like, oh yeah, Charlie Kirk, go get those students on college campuses? Do you think Jesus is like, oh yeah, bro, love your debates against those college kids? You imagine Jesus up in heaven eating some chips? He's like, Dad, look at this. Charlie Kirk's killing it. You know what I mean? Like, what part of Jesus would be like, yep, that's what I want you to do with your life? It just doesn't make sense, you know? It just doesn't make sense. Like, how would that be the reasonable follow through, you know? But you do you. And that's why I think ultimately, and I even talked to my little brother about this yesterday. I was like, hey, ultimately, you believe in a patriarchal religion, which I think is inherently bad. And I think you know that because you have the audacity to look me in the face and say, I think being gay is a sin. But I also think you guys should be able to live free as anybody else because ultimately, like, you know, that's your life. But also, I'm a Christian, so it has to apply to my politics. And I said, yeah. So as long as you're a Christian Catholic, as long as your politics are influenced by your religion, which is valid, and I understand and I respect it, I respect the premise, it means that ultimately your religion has to be inherently evil because it comes at the expense of all of these people who are none of your business. We're not even mentioning the 10 Commandments. Leave me out of it, girl. I didn't do shit. Okay? We're not even in the 10 Commandments. God didn't even bother giving a fuck about gay people. We're not even there. You know? Ted said, is your brother upset about Charlie Kirk? Yeah, he is. He, you know, he's upset. Yeah, he is upset. He's not like, you know, for him, he said it reminds him of a lot of his friends and stuff and like his people. And like, that's the problem is like everything Charlie Kirk espoused, I grew up with my whole life. You have to understand, I love my family so dearly. I come from a family, if you guys don't know some of these stories, I come from a family that like my dad would pick up people off the side of the road and drive them if he noticed they were gonna, you know, need a ride. He would like give people rides and give them money out of his wallet. And then he would vote MAGA, right? Like my parents are the kind of people that like help and give food and like clothe people and volunteer and do all this stuff. And then they also vote MAGA. Like my parents are the kind of people that talk a big game about disowning their gay kids, but then invite us over all the time, but we can't bring home partners. Like my parents are the kind of people that, you know, everyone's welcome to the home. They'll feed everybody. They'll like welcome everybody, but also they give off the same fucking rhetoric. The same rhetoric that you hear from Charlie Kirk. It's like, it's a very weird disconnect of like, you will be, you know what I mean? And then you'll say things like, even when my brothers get sucked into like rabbit holes on the internet that are a little bit more extreme, my parents are like, hey, no. But also, so like, this is why I say like, I want to heal the world or participate in healing the world. And even though I think it's bad and that they are more bad than good, they are still more good than bad. And that's really hard. You need to hold both things in the hands of both things at the same time. You know? Like you need to understand, right? This is what's so difficult because I'm not assigning a result of the badness. People won't allow me to hear. I even told my little brother last night because he was like, don't you think mom and dad have grown? I was like, yeah, they have grown, but they haven't learned the lesson of where they need to grow the most. And so there must be a boundary. And he's like, yeah, but don't you kind of like, they're learning. Like, don't you want to be nice to them? I was like, I do. So I talked to him about the cross thing. You guys know the cross story? My mom wanted to send me a cross and I said, don't send me a cross. We're not a religious household. Plus I already have religious stuff in my house from you. Don't send me more. And she goes, why not? Your father made it for you. And I said, okay, how about I send you a gay flag I made? And she goes, I'm not going to talk to you. And I was like, I love you. Bye. Okay. I told him this story and he goes, yeah, but don't you think you should do the right thing no matter what? Yes. And I think I did by putting down a boundary. I said, I love you, mom. Thank you for the thought. No, thank you. It is rude for her to insist I take a gift than for me to reject it in this context. Because the gift isn't given in good faith. The gift is given in her setting a spell. My mom is casting a spell. I'll tell you why. Because my mom believes in demons. in angels because she's Catholic. My mom believes I had an ex who had a Native American dad. He blessed me with sage one time. And I told my mom, she goes, maybe he cursed you. And I was like, girl, I will, girl. And that's why my mom believes in this stuff. So when my mom is sending me a cross, she got it blessed by a priest. She's like, I'm adding energy into your house. The gift is not given in good faith. Oh, your father made it for you. You know, it's not about the fact that dad made it for me. You know, it's because you got it a little blessed and you want it in the house. And you know what my partner said? He goes, tell her to send it. We'll just put it upside down when it gets here. And I was like, oh, that's going to really piss her off. Because that's the difference. Give me a gift in good faith and I will take it. Do you know, as I was at the airport coming to Europe, because I moved to Croatia to be with my partner and we live here, okay? And, well, not to be with my partner, but this is where we decided to live. I was at the airport and this man came up to me and he asked me something and we started talking. He goes, can I pray over you? I'd love to pray over you. And I said, sure. Anytime somebody in public, most of the time asks, can I pray over you? I almost always say yes. And that is more than I've ever seen a conservative do when it comes to gay people coming up to them and saying, can we hang out and talk to you? And I need you to process that information. Okay? Because you actually think something bad is happening to you, versus I don't think anything's happening to me. When religious people pray over me, I'm just like, thanks, bro. Do you feel good about yourself now? And they do, because it's about the ego, right? But they would never let me do it back to them because they actually think there's like something in the water. Like they're like, no, don't bless me with the gay. You know what they actually, because they believe in it. But it's like the fact that progressives often will make so much space for people to be themselves. You know what I mean? And you won't do the same. Like my parents won't even go to non-Catholic weddings. They didn't even come to my own wedding, even though I married a person assigned male at birth. You know what I mean? Like you get to adhere to your values and I think that's fine. But the fact that you make zero compromise for other people's is the issue. And we can't keep making a compromise at the expense of our mental health. You cannot ask me to keep making a compromise, but you won't do it back because it's not within your values. Yeah, your thing is not my values either, but see how we're meeting each other in the middle? And I'm saying that's the difference. Charlie Kirk was never going to meet you in the middle. And that's all I need to know. I am happy to meet Charlie Kirk in the middle when it comes to not eating fish on Fridays because he's Catholic or Christian. I don't know what he was. Christian? I'm happy to meet Charlie Kirk in the middle by maybe not cursing around his kids. I'm happy to meet Charlie Kirk in the middle with a lot of things. I'm not happy to meet him in the middle when it comes to racism, bigotry, transphobia, or anything of the like. I am more than happy to live in a society where we make rules about like public discourse. But I am not meeting you in the middle. He is Catholic? Okay, thank you. I wasn't sure. He is Catholic. Okay. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure. But I'm not going to meet him in the middle for all the other stuff. You know? And it's hard. It's hard being called a bad person. But I think that's the thing that philosophy is supposed to get you to do is you got to face yourself, bro. You know? You got to face yourself. Tess says, why do they put God above their children when the literal story of Abraham is not sacrificing your kids for him? No. The story of Abraham, the lesson I was taught through Abraham was not that God says not to sacrifice your kids for him, but was to prove Abraham's loyalty. His willingness to kill Isaac was proof of his loyalty to God. It was a loyalty test, like a girlfriend who's dating a guy and she has to give him a loyalty test. The message I was raised with is that God will test you, hear the call. You know? And look, I'm a public figure and so is Charlie, right? So it's one of those things where, again, what happens is, and what continues to happen, is that Charlie Kirk his ideas must be contended as a public person. He lost the luxury of being mourned as a private citizen when he decided not to become one or to stop becoming one. He's not just a guy in your local neighborhood, guys. He was so friendly with the president of the United States. JD Vance canceled 9/11 plans for memorials to go spend time with Charlie Kirk's family. Which YouTuber do you know who dies and the president stops everything and the vice president stops everything to be with a YouTuber? He's not just a YouTuber. So his ideas must not be forgotten. We cannot pretend now that he's dead that his ideas weren't horrible. And that he wasn't a person who absolutely added to the hate that everyone is feeling. He absolutely contributed to making the world less safe. Because remember, in my ideal world, my conservative family still exists. Safe, clothed, educated, housed, fed, In their ideal world, I'm dead. You know, I asked my mom, and this is the autism of it all, really. This is why religious people, the autistic people love religion. I asked my mom when I was a teenager before I came out, would you rather have a gay child or a dead child? And she said a dead child because then they wouldn't have a chance to sin. So I need you to process that information, that your religion teaches you better for your child to die innocent than to live to sin as an adult, right? That's religion. That's what religion is. Religion is, may you die innocent so you don't have to sin as an adult and risk going to hell. So listen to me when I say this. I love my parents. I love my parents more than you will ever understand how a person could love somebody. And yet I must hold them accountable for the way their rhetoric causes harm. Right? Okay? And I see you guys in the chat. I get it. I'm 36 now, girls. I've gone to therapy. I'm okay. Thank you. I appreciate you. I've been to therapy. I get it. It was hard. You want to talk about abandonment issues, right? So when you have this understanding of life and you understand how religion indoctrinates, you start to understand that even the best people you know can say the most fucked up shit because they have to, because that's the rule of the religion. I know these liberals and progressives keep trying to reform Christianity. Y'all got to stop doing that. With peace and love, y'all, you got to abandon this patriarchal religion. I don't know. I don't want to hear one more gay person be like, actually, my Christian church is gay. Your Christian church is bullshit. I'm sorry. With peace and love, bros. You got to reform past it. You got to get past it. These male-centered religions it's not it. Get rid of it. Reform. Build community another way, girl. Make a weekly knitting group. Okay? It's just not it, bro. Chaz had my friend in high school from Iran asked his mom what she would do if he was gay. And she said, first I would kill you, then I would kill myself. She said it joking, but it was rough. Yeah. Now imagine that I still believe those people are victims. I believe that, right? I believe religious people are victims of indoctrination, and I blame the leaders. I blame the leaders. I do. I blame the leaders. I blame Charlie Kirk, religious leaders, anybody who advocated as a leader, spreading this kind of talk, right? Now, blame is a hard word. I would say hold responsible or want to see them because they're in a position of power, but without blaming, because blame is a difficult word because that means like he's responsible, right? But it is sad, you know? Like my heart goes out to religious people because I think they're really suffering unnecessarily. I mean, guys, they can't masturbate. Just process that information out loud with me. My brothers think they are sinning when they touch their own genitals. I need you to process that information with me. Touching their own body is a sin. How is this healthy? Somebody explain to me how this is harm reduction. Explain to me how that is healthy. It is so bad. And then we wonder why these boys grow up repressed. They become incels. They become school shooters. They're not even allowed to touch their own genitals. You don't think that's fucking weird? You don't think that's fucking insane, bro? Okay? Chad says conservatism isn't inherent to religion. Maybe that's something to deconstruct. Conservatism isn't always related to religion, but most of the white nationalism, most of the biggest groups out here are utilizing the connection to religion and God to push propaganda. So you have to be careful when you try to erase that from a president who brings up God every time it becomes convenient. Right? So conservatism isn't inherent to religion, but religion is inherently conservative. Religion, generally speaking, in an Abrahamic sense, the ones that matter are generally more conservative. If you belong to a religion that is not that, with peace and love, you can shut the fuck up because you are not the problem right now. And you spending time being like, well, actually, my religion doesn't do that, takes away from the billions of people suffering around the globe from these patriarchal religions that actually have status. I love that for you. You're so great. How great for you. Take your privilege somewhere else. Because the privilege of even having a religion that isn't one of bigotry is a privilege. Go take that somewhere else. Right now, we're talking about a very serious issue, and these large patriarchal religions that have a stranglehold on billions of people's lives. Billions. And they are ruining everybody's relationship with existence. Our short time on earth, it's making your relationship worse, okay? And I'm saying we got to talk about that, okay? Chad said no, because the amount of women I meet who claim to be accepting of pro and gay, yet they're open-minded churches like No Girl, a rigid book of morals written lifetimes ago will never be accepting. Exactly, girl. Conservatism without religion looks evil. It used to soften things in their policies. I don't know about that. Chad says, hey, Brett, I was watching your recent live about Kirk, and I got the impression you're blaming people who are debating him. Kirk himself benefited from the debating those people, though. I mean, it's a mutual relationship of evil. It's a mutual relationship. Right? Progressives in my bubble talk about this all the time. Are we even unethical for covering these people? No, we're not even debating or platforming them, and we're wondering if we're doing bad things by talking about them. And here's Charlie and all of these people who are actually benefiting by becoming millionaires talking to them. So they're all complicit. That's why I say they're all the same in the end. They're all using each other at the expense of everybody else. And this illusion that debating people will change their ideas, guys, I've been alive for 36 years. It's never happened. Socrates was killed. It never happens. It doesn't happen. They killed Jesus, bro. Y'all don't understand. The mob doesn't care about your fucking logic, bro. Ben Shapiro has the audacity to say logic don't care about your feelings. Okay, logic over your feelings. And he supports a genocide. Okay? Doza, welcome to memberships. Happy to have you here. Chess says, do you think someone should deconstruct feeling too bad about this, especially as somebody who would have definitely been harmed by his policies down the road? I think you should always deconstruct everything. You should deconstruct what you ate for dinner. Do you guys know what a deconstructed meal is? It's where you kind of take it apart and kind of have it not put together. You should deconstruct everything. You should take everything apart and figure it out. You should, when you eat something you really like, you should deconstruct why you think it's so good. I did that yesterday. I made this amazing meal and I ate it and I was like, fuck, why is this so good? I said, I really killed it with this plant-based dish, bro. I really killed this vegan recipe, bro. I was like, what is so good about this recipe? And I said, there's like something creamy in it. And then I started to think, what did I put in this recipe? So I had to deconstruct the pieces on the plate to figure out what I put in here. That vegan cheese I'm obsessed with. That's what it was, girl. Ooh, it was so good. Oh, it was so good. You know, you should deconstruct everything. You know, do you think someone has to do something or say something? I see your point, but shouldn't someone stand up? Stand up to what? What's the context of this comment? Do you think someone has to do something or say something? What is this in relation to? Hold on. Did I miss who you? What is that in reference to? Oh yeah, and we should start taxing the churches. Who said earlier about systematic racism and prejudice and all that? You gotta stop. You gotta start taxing religious people. Sorry, every church I've ever belonged to fully told people how to vote. If you guys think they're separating it from politics, you're fucking stupid. You need to advocate right now for churches to be taxed. Okay? Chat says, what classifies someone as evil? Everybody is evil. It's just on a spectrum. Everybody is evil. It's just on a spectrum. Existing is evil. You cannot come into the world without suffering. Everything is suffering, but some of it can be wise suffering. Even childbirth itself is the most excruciating suffering a body goes through. And then we shoot enough chemicals into our brain to forget instantly how bad it was. Our whole existence is suffering. Our whole existence is trying to mitigate that evil, right? Okay. So what we do is we look at everything we do, and this includes just existing in and of itself. I'm not an antinatalist, but you should be more thoughtful about bringing babies into the universe. The fact that we're so casual with making children brand new lives, brand new people, we are so casual about it. Everyone is too casual. Progressives, everybody, all 8 billion of y'all are way too casual the way you bring babies into the universe. Okay? So that's the dilemma too. We are so casual the way we interact with the world. We're so entitled too, right? And that's the problem. And we got to start thinking about that. Why am I so entitled? Why am I so casual? Why am I just showing up in the world so casual, bro? Isn't that, Discord said stupid and procreating, horny and procreating. You all know like 40% of births are just from fucking. Not to mention all the rapes and assaults, right? And I get it. We're evolved animals on a planet, right? Chad said, I think I answered my own question. I think it's good to have someone stand up for injustice, but I think you're right. Debate isn't the way. Debate's never been the way. It's never, ever, ever been the way. Debate is a narcissistic, egotistical feeling, good feeling. It's like drugs. Debate has never been the way. Not when Socrates did it, not when we do it now. It has never, ever been the way. It is the illusion that it has ever worked. That is the propaganda. Guys, debate because it's a hobby. That's what it is. Even Alex O'Connor, who debates for a living, admits like no one ever changes their mind in debate. Even when you think you have changed your mind, you haven't. Even when you have, it wasn't the debate. It was something you heard at the right moment for it to click in your brain, but it wasn't the debate. You could have also changed your mind had you heard it in a different context. Debate is like gladiators. You know what I mean? It's fun, it's thrilling, it's exciting. It's not actually helping you think better because you don't have to think well to debate. You just have to sound good. That's what wins debates. Sounding good. Gotcha. That's it. It's never worked. Okay? This chatter's about to get blocked. You are the R word. Tax churches to casually bringing kids into the world. You sound like the most entitled, spoiled brat I've ever seen. That's what I'm saying. You can't even argue with me. You know taxing churches would help everybody. Okay? God knows they're paying enough lawsuits for the way their priests diddle kids. And God forbid I say, hey, maybe be more responsible before having kids. Okay? Chad said, but having this conversation is not the same as debating? No. Chad said, what's the alternative to debates? What are debates, guys? Obviously, we don't know. What are debates? Tell me what debates are. What is a debate? Do you know what a debate is? Because obviously we're not agreeing here. What's a debate? Tell me your definition. Go. Okay, it's a sport. That's a good answer. Okay. Chad said if you're answering questions and she's answering her opinion, why is that a debate? It sounds more like a Q&A to me. I think people are confused having a conversation with a difference of opinion versus formalized debate. Arguing to prove a point. Debating is antithetical to listening to an open mind, with an open mind. Let's see. Debate is a sport. There's a statement and a status quo in the opposition. They argue for points, basically. Okay. Chad says, I like listening to debates. It's entertainment for sure, but I do like hearing both sides of something at the same time. It does help me think about topics. I can't prove that or convince you. No, you're not processing the information. Guys, debate. Okay. Debate insinuates that you both think you're right and you're trying to prove to the other that you're correct. You're debating a topic to come to a good conclusion. But if a debate ends and both of you thinking the earth is flat, what good is a debate? Okay, a conversation is two people exchanging language. That's a conversation. But a debate is also two people exchanging conversation, right? Then why is it different? A debate is a debate. When you enter into a debate, you're entering into an idea that you have an opposition. And I'm saying, I have no opposition. We are not enemies. I don't want to debate you. I want to, and I'm willing to converse with you to come to a conclusion about what's correct. But if I've already come to the debate with a side, it's not a conversation. I did formal debate in high school. You came to the debate with a topic, you did your research, and you came to debate on the side of that topic, whether you agreed with it or not. My debate class made me debate things I don't even believe in. I had to come with points, research. They would give us clocks. Okay, you go, this side, rebuttal. Okay, then there's the debate about the entertainment debate, which is what Charlie Kirk does. It's for the entertainment. The point of the debate when Charlie Kirk does it is to bring the gladiator spectacle. It's not a formalized debate in some nerdy way. It's to bring that, right? It's to bring that like, ugh. And then on top of that, the more he yells and the more he's outrageous, the more his audience like cheers for him. It's not about being correct. It's about getting the audience to feel entertained. Are you not entertained? Right? Chad said, so what about lectures? Lectures are where one person stands and gives a lecture to the class so the class can learn from the lecturer. The lecturer gives opportunity from their point of knowledge to educate the point of to educate the audience, right? The audience can take what the lecturer says and ask questions at the end or inquire or use that information to better their thoughts, but it's not two people. The lecturer and the audience are not equals. The debaters are equal, okay? And having a discussion is more like having a discussion so you have two people facing outwards. A debate is facing each other, and a lecturer is like this. The lecturer and the audience. They're different relationships. Everything is relationship. We have a relationship. I am streamer, you are audience. I am real face, you are username. There is a position of power that I am in, right? Like we are having a very unique discussion. It's limited because it's more like a Q&A, right? But we are not, like, we can't be on equal footing. I can't see you. We can't be on equal footing. Your reputation, your face isn't on the line, but mine is. We can't be equal footing. I am in a position of power and in a position of vulnerability that you are not in, right? Chet said, so would a lecture be more or less conductive to changing a person's mind compared to a debate? First, you must ask yourself, why do I desire to change people's minds? I personally do not desire to change your mind. I, Brittany Simon, have no desire to change your mind. Why are you so concerned with changing people's minds? That's the first question you should ask yourself. Chet said, so the difference is if we're constructing or just performing with our words? Yeah, the difference is always the why. What is the format and why is the why, right? That's always the question. The differences are in the nuances. The same difference between consent and non-consent. It's not the sex, guys. It's the consent. You know? So when conservatives say, well, like, if you're going to have sex anyway, how can she revoke consent halfway through? Why is that rape? Because the consent was revoked. Okay? It's not the sex. You know what I mean? You know? Discourse said debates lead people to think there are only two potentially valid sides. Life is too complicated to be presented that simply in the name of utility. Agree. That's the biggest issue with debate, right? Yeah. Chet says listening to debates is useful. It's very different to participating. And guys, I watch debates, right? In the same way that I watch people who are different from me generally. Because guys, I don't know if you know this. I hate to tell you this. You know most people are different from you. There are not two sides. If you're a conservative, most people will be different from you. If you're progressive, most people will be different from you. And you are not watching people who are different from you because you're just watching the opposite political side from you. You know what I'm saying? We keep forgetting that, like, there's not just two sides. I watch everybody. I go into bubbles that I'm like, how niche is this? What are they doing? Have you guys ever been in the chess bubble? The misogyny in the chess bubble is crazy. But then you hop into the baking bubble and you're like, oh shit, there's shit going down in the baking bubble. Hop into the knitting bubble. Have you seen the knitting bubble v. Hank Green? Holy shit, they're pissed. Just because you watch liberals and Democrats doesn't mean you're getting both sides. Both sides of what? It's so limited. You're so limited. There's 8 billion perspectives and you're only paying attention to 2. 8 billion perspectives and you're only paying attention to 2. That's crazy business, you know? Because as I went vegan from watching people debate, okay, but the debate didn't make you vegan. You made yourself vegan. The debate did not make you vegan. You're giving the credit. It's like therapy didn't make you better. You utilize the tool of therapy to be better. You're giving your decision to the debate. The debate did not make you vegan. Like you're not understanding that, like, when I say debates never change people's minds, I'm not saying, okay, if you looked at not good enough, even if they change 1 in a million people's minds, it's not changing at a rate that seems to be good enough. Destiny literally spent a living debating against predatory behavior from men and engaged in it every day, every time he was making those debates. Okay? All these religious men who get up on podiums and debate each other are going home and crying over trans people existing. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, the debates aren't the issue. The fact is we're not learning, we're not thinking. If the world is the way that it is, debates aren't working because we've been having them for 2,000 years. Debating for 2,000 years got us here. Are you happy? Hey guys, are we happy? Is anybody happy? I don't know one group of people that's happy. So it's not working. Whatever we've been doing isn't working. We need to do something else. Oh, but I like this thing and I really like it, but it's not working. You can like it, but that doesn't mean you have to say that it's working. Okay? Chad says, so I'm asking, would lectures be better for the purpose of changing minds and learning? You mentioned Socrates, but his whole point of asking questions was to get people to think, and they killed him. They killed him. They murdered Socrates. You're focused on the wrong question. You're making a wrong assessment. This is what philosophy should do. You're asking the wrong questions. Ask the right question. Can you figure out what it is? Why are you concerned with people changing their minds? Why are you concerned with it? Why is that your query? Why is that your interest? Okay? Wow, you can bring communism. I don't know, but autistic people need to be put down. Okay, not only, I'm going to report you, bro. You're getting reported. Reported. Bye, bitch. Oh, hey, that's pretty good, Discord. Ooh, Discord made a little stick man picture. This is how I see conversation versus debate versus lecture. Yes, exactly, Discord. The conversation involves people, different parties sharing their view and exploring ideas together. The debate is two different parties throwing their perspectives at each other in an attempt to overpower the other with their own. A lecture involves the lecturer directing the audience and how to share, and the lecturer's perspective based. Yeah, I love that. Okay. Chat says, I don't want to spam, but would you say you care about providing the correct information regardless of what they do with it rather than changing people's minds? Yes, exactly. My job is to figure out what's true. Everyone else's job is to decide what to do with it. Yes, I just want to know what's true. And then I think we can talk about what to do with it. But if we keep making a decision to do something before we know what's true, we're going to be a mess. Trump coming out before we know who the shooter was and saying the left did it is exactly what I want to avoid doing. I want to first have the information, then know what to do. I do not want to make a move before we have the understanding. Okay? Okay? Chad says, how would you distinguish trying to change someone's mind versus sharing your opinion? Hey guys, oh my God, I had an amazing meal today. Oh my God, if you guys haven't tried it yet, I really recommend, even for just a week, oh my God, trying vegan food, just to give yourself an example of like how many plant-based foods you haven't even thought about eating. Like I noticed when I was a meat eater, I didn't eat enough greens. Just go a week just going plant-based and you will eat better than you've ever eaten in your life, and then incorporate it back into your like when you eat meat again, incorporate back in. It's so good. Just my opinion, but of course you don't have to do it. Versus, hey, if you eat meat, versus like changing their mind would be like, hey, I noticed you're eating meat, and I just want to let you know that like you're really hurting a lot of animals and you're hurting the planet, and I really think you should reconsider that. Like, can I give you some information, some documentaries to watch for you to reconsider your idea? Like, one is saying how this thing has benefited me and saying like, oh my God, I recommend it. And one is saying like, hey, I noticed you're doing this really bad thing. Can I give you some documentaries to like get you to see that you're doing a bad thing? It's like, you know what I mean? You're basically, you know, and I see this from people in my comments who assume my values, and they'll say, hey, Britt, I'm really disappointed to see that you're using this and this and this. You know, and that's okay. Like, but maybe you should think about doing this. That's fine. That's a suggestion based off their belief. And now I have to deconstruct the disappointed part, because what they're trying to say is like, oh, I'm disappointed by this. Valid. And then they're going to say, I think you should consider this. I will consider it. But then if they say something like, hey, Britt, I know how much you hate this thing, just so you know, XYZ, but they don't know that. Like sometimes I notice that people try to assume I have the same opinion as them on certain things. And so they'll give me an opinion with that. Like I can tell when somebody's coming to me from what perspective. That's kind of messy, but do you get what I'm saying? Like I can kind of sometimes tell when people are like, because then I have to be the listener who goes, why are you talking to me like that? Like people who come into my chat and they call me a liberal, or they'll say like, oh, these Democrats are all the same. Who are you talking to? You're not, who are you talking? What Democrat? Who are you talking to? It's like, you're not talking to me. You're talking to the person you think that I am, which is different, right? Like, and then I have to deconstruct it and pull it apart before I can even respond to them because they started off the sentence with already misinformation. So now in order to even have a conversation with them, I have to be like, okay, hold up. I don't know who you're talking about, but that's not where I'm coming from. Right? Okay. Does that make sense? Chet said, do you think it's valid to want to convince other people that are against our rights, for example? Is that a different case? Okay, so my work is different than everyone else's. Everybody else can do what they're doing. Okay. I want to prove to the world that we live in bubbles. And I know you already know you do because you think everyone else is in a bubble you're not in, right? That's what we believe about people. You're in a bubble. We're all in bubbles. And right now, the world thinks this bubble right here is everything. And I'm saying, what about all of fucking this? What about all of this? Okay. So when you guys sit here and you say, hey, do you think we should do this thing? You're only asking me a question about this bubble. And my work is this bubble. Okay, I don't know what you should do in your bubble. I think you should do what you think is right, and then you should question if what you think is right is correct. I advocate on behalf of minority groups because in my worldview, that is more correct. I don't advocate because I want to change your mind. I advocate with the hope that you will come to a good conclusion based off good information, but I will die not caring either way because I can't. History has showed me time and time again that human beings either come to good conclusions or they don't. And I do not wait for you to figure it out to live a good life. So I will live a good life and I will recommend everybody around me doing the same while advocating for what they think is right. But if you hold your breath waiting for people to change their mind, you will die. You will suffer unnecessarily. I will not hold my breath waiting for you to change your mind. But I hope by living my life well, I will encourage and inspire you to consider, maybe Brittany knows something I don't. But maybe not. Maybe you know something I don't. Every single person on this planet, even Charlie Kirk, has taught me something about life. And that's all I hope for everybody else, is that we continue to learn from one another who we don't want to be in the story and who we are. I do not want to be Charlie Kirk in the story. When I look at his life and his legacy, I think, okay, that's definitely who I don't want to be. When I look at Trump, I think, okay, that's definitely not who I want to be. When I look at historical figures, I go, okay, maybe that's kind of more who I want to be. Or maybe this is who I want to be. Or maybe I just want to be myself. But what does it mean to be myself in a world in which we are impacted by one another? Right? Like we are a product of our communion together. So for the Republicans to blame the libs or the libs to blame the Republicans is trying to free them of the responsibility that they are all participating. You cannot free yourself from the participation of the world you are participating in it. So that's the issue. The moment you say, oh, this whole group of people is to blame and it's not me, you've missed it. Okay? That's the dilemma. We are all responsible for how the world is impacted because we all participate in it. Even if you try to live off the grid, that is participation. Even though in your brain it's not, you are. You are. That's your way of participating by not participating, right? That's why I say I would rather the world You know, I'd rather people stay home and play video games all day than go out there and do a lot of activism if their activism looks like prejudice and racism and all that other stuff. But what I really want for those people is to liberate themselves from the construct of stagnation. But that's not my job, right? Okay. Okay, I'm going to report you too. Anyone who says autistic people need to be put down, guys, I'm going to report you. I'm just going to report it. Okay? And look, at the end of the day, like, this isn't okay. I don't know if you're 15 or if you're 35. But yeah, you somebody, like, whether this is a troll, maybe it's a bot, like, that's the problem. You guys have to understand, like, this is not who you want to be in the story, guys. Okay? It's like not who you want to be in the story. And I know we can all be petty. I know we can all say jokes. I know we can all be things. We have to be able to be the adults in the room eventually. And it's not going to happen unless you do it for yourself, not because other people. You can't do something for the right reason because you think other people will give you credit for it. You got to do things for the right reason because it's the right thing, right? Okay. Chat said, are bubbles the same thing as communities? Communities encompass bubbles. Bubbles are perceptions because we're all limited by our perception. So like a bubble, you can think of a bubble as environmental, a thought, a belief, a community, right? And we all exist within bubbles, right? So you can have like all these different belief systems and communities that never meet, right? You can think of them as physical locations or belief systems, okay? You can think of them all kinds of ways, but the reality is like we are not all living in the same reality, even though we share the same planet, because our perception shifts our relationship to what's true. Okay? That's why religious people can debate like gender isn't like real, but also go like God is real though. So a man rose from the dead, but I can't call myself they, them. You know what I mean? Like, okay. Also, I'm sorry, I'm instinctually blocking people that say anything about autism. I'll unhide you. I'm sorry. Are you autistic? Yes, I'm autistic, but I will block you if you follow that question up with something ableist. Okay? So listen, what I recommend you do is process who you are in the story and what it means for what you want to accomplish. If you want to accomplish a world that's less violent, you have to interact with the world in a way that allows that. So as an example, I'm not making a prescription. I'm on a journey of plant-based eating because I'm mitigating my harm. I'm trying to say, okay, well, I don't need to eat animals to have good food, and I'm not in a position of survival. So I'm going to go plant-based for now, which is why I don't call myself vegan, even though I eat vegan and my lifestyle is vegan. I don't believe in the philosophical belief that animals have their own agency in the same way necessarily. I'm having a disconnect from an embodied experience where I don't feel the same way about human or animal meat in my fridge as I would maybe human meat. And that's what I'm trying to contend with, right? This is a very philosophical, this is a very difficult thing to process. That some vegans believe like having animal products in your fridge is equal to a human life in your fridge. But then we know that humans eat other humans in moments of survival. So we know it's not off the table. So then we have to deconstruct what it means to be a person. So in a position of survival, in a position of privilege, we're having different conversations. I'm in a position of privilege. I have enough money and enough status and enough nearby grocery stores with enough vegetable options that I don't have to eat meat. So I don't eat meat. But to say that I would never eat meat, I don't know about that. But to say that I don't need to makes it put into perspective that I don't have to, right? So this is one example of me harm reducing violence in my life, okay? I would prefer to avoid, if it's possible, ever having to self-defend myself by killing somebody else. So that's something I keep in mind, okay? I try my best to harm reduce, but I'm never asking for perfection. So as a plant-based person, I would never make the prescription that you must be vegan. Chad says, do you take any supplements? Yes, because once again, I'm in a privileged position where I have access to supplements. So yes, I do take supplements, right? So I am just trying to say, well, if I don't have to be violent today and take a life or contribute to a system that like takes the life of this animal, I'm not going to do that. But if my neighbor says, hey, Brittany, I made this dish of food for you. I hope you like it. And there's meat in it. I might eat that dish of food, right? Because the harm reduction in that situation would be like if I rejected the meal because I'm plant-based, that would cause more harm than less harm. But if I took the meal and I ate the meal, that would be less harm than more harm. So that's what I would do, right? In theory. Or maybe I would take it and have my partner eat it since my partner eats meat and plant-based things. I mean, animal-based things, dairy and meat and stuff, right? Like I'm married and my partner isn't plant-based because my personal journey is my personal journey. My partner's is theirs, though our general overlapping values are the same. My partner's encouraging. They're in agreement with my reasoning. They support it. They're like my biggest cheerleader on this journey. Okay. They're mostly a pescatarian, but I'm not going to fault them if they eat ground beef or something because that's not their journey. That's not where they're at. But our values are the same. We try to harm reduce in any way possible. So the difference would be like if I was a vegan, I was like, I'm making a prescription and I'm never dating somebody who's not vegan. And anybody, like there's these vegans on the internet that say no meat, no animal product, no exceptions. I would never say that. Like I would never say that. Watching Palestinians be so desperate for food, they're eating sea turtles. I'm not about to say no animal under any circumstance. I'm never going to say that. Sorry. Not sorry. And at the same time, I don't think human beings are the most important species on the planet. I don't think we're better or more important, but I think the circumstance would call in that moment for us to eat the sea turtles, right? And I think most reasonable vegans might actually agree. From my understanding, caveat of at least the vegans that I've talked to, they would also agree in survival situations, it would be ethical to eat animals. In the same way that in certain circumstances, like the football group that got stuck in the mountains, ate their dead friends in the snow to survive. It's not great. It's not perfect. It's not what we want, right? But it's like there are moments in which circumstances allow. The question is, when we're having these conversations and we're, having this dialogue, sometimes when I suggest this, it sounds to other people like I'm taking away their good parts of life, or I'm telling them what to do so they get defensive. So what, I can't eat chicken? I'm not saying you can't do anything. I'm saying, why are you eating chicken? Well, it's delicious. Okay. It's like you want to have, right? You want to have like an understanding of why you're doing something. And I get it. I get defensive too, guys. Oops. I get defensive too, girlies. Okay. I'm not saying I don't have moments where I'm like, don't tell me what to do. I get triggered too. I get defensive too. But that's why I also am lucky that you guys give me the chance to like pause, come back, think about what I did. And that's why I always say, my bad, guys. I reacted poorly. You're right. I'm wrong. Because I am also a human having a biological experience and I too will get defensive. Okay. All right. Give me a second, guys. I need to tinkle so bad. I'll be right back. Okay. Give me 2 seconds. Samantha Dragonati, links in the description. Okay, pausing music. Okay. Okay, a few things I want to cover, and then I'll go to chat in case I missed something, because I feel like I must have. Okay. So when we're having conversations, this is how it normally goes. Okay. Oh, that's a horrible line. Okay. So what normally happens is, in most debates, well, actually, no. Hold on, I did that wrong. That's why it's not making sense. Okay. Hello. It would be like this. Okay. So in most debates, let's do this. Okay. In most debates that happen, they ask a question. Do you think Charlie Kirk was a bad person? Okay, the last question. Do you think Charlie Kirk was a bad person? Yes or no? Okay. So that kind of makes it here. Like now we're starting here. But the conclusion that brought us to this point of yes or no should actually come from a place of foundational belief that led us to saying yes or no. So there has to be a requirement, a criteria in order for us to say yes or no. And then the criteria starting from yes and no leads us into a direction to move society in. So if it's yes, he's a bad person, then we move society away from that. If it's no, he's not a bad person, we move society towards it, right? So when people say like, oh, do you think this is this? I believe in foundational thought first. This is why I tell you, zoom out of your bubbles, zoom out of your narratives, and ask yourself, what do I actually believe? Okay? What do I actually believe, and how does that exist in the world? What are the differences between Bin Laden and Charlie Kirk? Can anybody tell me the differences between them? Like, if you know you might not know anything about Bin Laden, actually, except through Western propaganda. Both bad people, in my mind. Both bad people. But do you know how they were different? In your mind, why would they be different? Okay, what are some of the reasons you might think Bin Laden and Charlie Kirk are different? Even though I think they're both evil, you might think one is good and one is bad. But what do you think actually makes them different? A beard, great point. Okay. Let's see. Bin Laden was violent and Charlie wasn't. Do you have evidence that Bin Laden ever personally killed somebody? Do you have evidence that Bin Laden ever picked up a gun and personally shot anybody? And does that count for every military soldier that ever existed and killed somebody? Is every military soldier who ever killed somebody on behalf of the US government violent? You know how they talk about how Putin literally killed some people, but our presidents never did? Even though our presidents absolutely killed people, maybe not with their own hands, but you know what I mean? So what's really the difference is the experience. So every cop who's killed somebody, right? Okay. So what's the difference, right? Chat said Bin Laden had more people under his command. Did he? How many people did Bin Laden lead? Bin Laden's led a core group of estimated 20 to 30 senior members on the council. How many were in his group? I mean, didn't Charlie Kirk have like 5 million followers? And now they're talking about taking up arms in his name? I don't know. Did Bin Laden have 5 million followers? Bin Laden was anti-American imperialism and Kirk was for it. That's a good difference. There you go. Ideological difference. Okay. So mobsters who call hits and have clean hands aren't violent. Great question. Charlie didn't kill. Bin Laden did. Did Bin Laden kill people? I don't know that. I never learned that. Did bin Laden personally kill people? Did bin Laden personally kill people? But does that make bin Laden a bad person, killing people? Because I think he's evil, but do you think he is? No, chat said defending bin Laden. No, I think I'm starting off. No, focus. I started off the conversation already saying bin Laden was an evil person. So now you can't take anything I'm saying as defense. Okay? So you're saying bin Laden is bad because he killed people. Okay, so you agree anyone who kills anybody is a bad person, is evil. Is that what you're saying? Anybody who kills anybody is a bad person? Is that what we're saying? Or no, that's not what you're saying. Okay, so anyone who kills anybody is a bad person. Okay, do you have to kill people to be a bad person, or can you be a bad person without killing anybody? Chad said, yes, Al-Qaeda was a terrorist group and Charlie only had followers. He didn't have a formed group. Well, if Charlie was aiming to be the next president and people wanted him to be president, isn't being the president being a leader of a group of 350 million people? Is Trump the largest isn't Trump in charge of the largest terrorist organization? And Chad said, yes, you can be bad without killing anyone. Okay, then what is the difference between bin Laden and Charlie Kirk if they're both bad and they funded money and they're both homophobic and they're both misogynistic? Both groups, Charlie Kirk's viewers and groups, had the same, if not almost exact beliefs as bin Laden's, except one was pro-imperialism and one wasn't. Like, both were misogynistic, both were homophobic, both were transphobic. Okay, both led with activism of like live by the sword, die by the sword. So individually, you guys are saying that Charlie was less bad because he didn't personally kill anybody, right? Chad says, do we think that Charlie really had that kind of power? I think being besties with the president of the United States is more power than bin Laden ever had. Yeah. Because the fact that you don't understand that we are the superpower of the world, we are literally have the most eyes on us ever. More people know who Charlie Kirk is now than more people will know who bin Laden ever was, just in this second of time. Like, globally. Like, I don't understand how you don't understand that bin Laden is a guy that, like, is gonna, like, was he, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's a big deal to some of us, but he had no chance of ever winning a war against America. But Charlie was absolutely, in my opinion, using his chance of getting in the president to possibly be the leader of the quote, free world one day. Right? Like, again, people are trying to say like, oh, he was just, yeah, and Charlie founded Turning Point USA. Like, people are trying to say, oh, like, he's just a YouTuber. He is a person who directly believed infiltrating politics with religion was his moral obligation. So him and bin Laden had a lot in common. Bin Laden also wanted to run a government through religion, except it was Islam and Charlie is Christian. But at the end of the day, who cares? What's the difference? Both men believed in using violence and the death of people through rhetoric, inspiring other people to be violent in order to take power and move the country in a direction of nationalism, white nationalism, or patriarchal nationalism, I guess patriarchal structured belief, because bin Laden wasn't like white nationalist, but he was a misogynist, right? Like, so when you think about like what is different and what is good, this isn't a gotcha, by the way, this is a conversation. I'm trying to lead us to really understanding why we think there's a difference, right? Chad said Turning Point USA built a network of activists of over 350 high schoolers, colleges. Charlie Kirk had a lot of followers. Well, not only did Charlie Kirk have a lot of followers, but he had a lot of influence. Look, guys, I have 1,000 comments on my video literally telling me to kill myself in the name of Charlie Kirk. Process that information. I've never had 1,000 comments on any of my videos except the ones that hit 1 million views. 1,100 comments on my video. You are a completely heartless woman. Charlie Kirk, you judge Charlie Kirk because he had a difference of beliefs. Charlie Kirk was not a bad person. He had different views than you. Yeah, Charlie Kirk didn't simply have different views. Bin Laden had simply different views from me. Guys, they're not different views. They're advocating against my basic civil rights. Again, we have to think about that. We have to think about the idea that for them, and I've never had, this is so interesting. I feel like, oh, I bet you mourned the death of George Floyd. And I was like, you know what I mean? Like, no, Charlie Kirk was not a bad person. You're a bad person because of the rhetoric like yours. Someone eliminated him because your horrible ideas can't survive sunlight. Also, the LGBTQIA flag and the Palestinian Post. You people are so dumb. You don't even realize these people would unalive you in an instant. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, they don't understand. They don't know what it's like to advocate nonviolence against or for people that want to kill you. Just because you want to kill me doesn't mean I want to kill you. And that's the difference. Charlie Kirk died believing I would go to hell. He died believing black people were inferior. He died believing his 10-year-old daughter, if she was raped, would carry that baby to term. That man died not caring about you a lick. So you want Charlie? So what you want about Charlie? He wasn't the one planning to shoot those who disagree with him. That's the left. So you're saying the left are more likely to use gun violence against other people. The comments in this video I put out literally think left progressives are more likely to use guns to kill people than conservatives. Like, do you know what I'm saying? What are we talking about? What are we talking about? Right? Like, what are they, like, a part of me is like, this gotta be a troll, bro. But I think it's not, because when I hear people talk to my face, they're like, yeah, I just think like these leftists are crazy, bro. And I'm just like, yeah, everyone's kind of crazy, you know? Oh, who made you God and decided who's a bad or good person? People in these comments are like, Charlie Kirk didn't murder anyone, so how is he a bad person? Is murder the only reason we're allowed to be bad? Right? And by the way, I come from a very similar family. My parents told me if I was facing an ectopic pregnancy, they would rather me risk my life than abort the baby, abort the pregnancy, the fetus. Charlie Kirk is advocating for women to be arrested because of miscarriages. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I understand, because I come from a very similar family. And they really believe 100% that that baby's life should never be terminated for the sake of saving the person having the baby. Okay. This isn't just like a disagreement. If I am under a circumstance like that, I'm going to need my partner to strongly advocate for me, because I'm not losing my life to a fetus that isn't viable. It'd be different. I would take a bullet for a stranger's kid. I'm not taking a bullet for a kid that's like, God bless it, it's not even there. Chad says, you talk to your family now? Yes, I love my family very deeply. We have a very open with boundaries relationship, because I know that life isn't black and white. Even though I think they advocate for very evil things, I know at their core they're good people. And I hope slowly but surely they will process that information. But one day I might stop talking to them. Not permanently because they're inner circle, but it might come to the point where it's been 10 years since I've had a chance to say hello. And that's okay too. Right? That's okay too. Chad said, wait, Kirk wanted people who had the miscarriages arrested? Guys, listen to me when I say this. He thinks the abortion is worse than the Holocaust. Okay? They are advocating so strongly for pro-life values, not pro-life, anti-choice values, that they have to advocate for policy that is hurting women, even conservative women. Okay? So I need you to understand, right, that they're coming from a belief system that says they have a moral obligation to create children. And there's something to be said about that. What belief system do you hold where like this is good? Okay. So again, like I want you to process that when we ask questions like, what is the difference between Bin Laden and Charlie Kirk? Your default answer doesn't really matter when applied to the nuances of what we think bad and good is. Again, it is a spectrum and it is different, but bad is bad. Okay? The question is like, this is why I don't believe in this idea. And I know it's hard for people because we already live in a world where, God, you beat yourself up because you were a little too short with someone one day. And then you get compared to a Charlie Kirk and you're like, Jesus, I don't want you to beat yourself up. Okay? I want you to hold yourself responsible within reason to what happened. And that's the dilemma. Human beings don't know how to do that. They don't know how to actually appropriately hold people accountable. Nobody does. It's very hard. It's very hard to know what is the appropriate way to give people a chance at rehabilitation. And guys, accountability and rehabilitation doesn't mean you go back to the life you had. It means somehow your life should be changed by the lesson you learned. Your life should look different, you know? And all bad is bad. We shouldn't be doing it in general. Okay? When we do something bad, we don't say, oh, well, it wasn't that bad. We say, fuck, okay, I'm going to try not to do that next time. So if you keep going, but it's not that bad. That's not you knowing it's bad. That's you ignoring and pretending it's not that bad so I don't have to care. You should say, shit, that's bad. Okay, I'm not going to do that next time. Okay? I'm going to try to get on top of it. But certain things are not the end of the world bad, but some things will lead to the end of the world. And so we got to talk about that, right? Chat says it's weird. People want to try to downplay Charlie's influence. His body was flown on Air Force Two in a medal. Yeah, they're talking about giving him the medal of, what was it? What medal of honor? Are you guys like processing him? They're calling him Martin Luther King Jr. They're literally saying he's JFK. Have you not seen people say this is the JFK of our generation? Like in terms of the importance of his death? They're saying he is JFK. If we had the same, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know why you're not processing that they are about to make this man a subject we learn in school. This administration is absolutely going to use this. And this is their heroes. These are their heroes. Okay? Chad said Trump is Hitler, every liberal for 10 years. The hate comes from the left. Look, bro, if you can't process that Hitler was a dude like the rest of us, and so is Trump, and both are evil, that's on you, bro. Muted, deleted, blocked. Okay? They want a statue of him on the Capitol. Look, the fact is, nobody likes the idea. You know what America is? America is our parents. They don't like the fact that they want to be held accountable for what they did to establish this country. And so they're just like, what? Life was hard. I did my best. Yeah, then, but why do we have statues of like slave owners, people who enslaved people? Why are we praising them? Well, they did a lot of really great things. Yeah, I'm good not having those statues. Nobody's perfect, but can we not have statues of maybe people who were not slave owners, who maybe weren't raping their enslaved population? Chat says, can we agree that Bin Laden is a terrorist and Kirk wasn't? Defo a piece of shit, but we do need to differentiate. I think Charlie Kirk and every person who here's the problem. Was Bin Laden a terrorist or was Bin Laden an opposing military force? Are Palestinians being genocided or is this a war? Interesting that when Palestinians are being genocided, it's a war with two opposing militaries. But when Bin Laden is brought into the conversation, he's only a terrorist. Oh, but when the United States does the same thing to other countries, they're fighting for freedom. No. Okay? We cannot sit here and have conversations about who is a terrorist unless the United States is also called a terrorist country. Because at the end of the day, we terrorize the world. And we are not willing to hold ourselves accountable. So, you know, Bin Laden was a terrorist in the sense that he terrorized. And the United States is a terrorist. And Charlie Kirk was the photo op of a terrorist organization. Charlie Kirk's life was dedicated to terrorizing people for just being born the way that they were. And he promoted and uplifted a terrorist administration. That is the Trump administration. Terrorist is a political term used to quiet opposition. Okay? So yes, some people are terrorists, but you cannot start holding people accountable who are different from you and not hold yourself accountable for doing the same things. There's nothing bin Laden did that America doesn't and hasn't done. The Trump administration itself has killed civilians, bombed boats, bombed buildings, funded Netanyahu. Bin Laden could have lived another 500 years. It could not have committed the amount of atrocities that America has committed. And I think bin Laden was a bad person. He's evil. But he never had the manpower, the stability, the infrastructure to do the amount of damage that America has done. Okay? So, you know, just as they bombed 2 civilian boats in the same week, literally, bro. Literally. If we want the world to be a better place, we have to be able to face ourselves and say, damn, we really got problems. It's like families. You know what America feels like? It feels like a family gathering and everyone wants to be like, shh, grandpa never touched us. Shh, uncle so-and-so wasn't a predator. It's like, we should talk about this. And shh, can't you just eat your hamburgers and pretend everything's great? You know? No. I mean, we've done it. We've all done it, but like, maybe not. Maybe we should talk about it. Maybe it's time to talk about it. But it's hard, isn't it? It's really painful. And it's devastating for all of us because we love our grandpas and we love our uncles and we see the good in them and we know we have happy memories with them. We know we've seen them be good people, but they're still predators. And they still did that really bad thing. Okay? Chad says, I think we disagree on semantics. They're both evil, but I think they belong in different categories. I just can't think of the label for Kirk. I think he was a mouthpiece for a terrorist organization. I think Turning Point USA has done more harm for Americans than bin Laden. Bin Laden orchestrated 9/11, and on 9/11, J.D. Vance skipped out on 9/11 memorial services to spend time with Charlie Kirk's family. Process that. You want to paint bin Laden as the worst thing that happened to America. 9/11 is the worst thing. And they skipped out to pay attention to Charlie Kirk. Couldn't you have done both? You think this isn't political. And that's the naivety of it all. Charlie Kirk is 100% being touted as a martyr and will be used to take away people's rights. And they'll use it as an excuse, not that they needed one, to absolutely terrorize their own citizens. Trump said we should throw our own citizens in basically Auschwitz. You know, concentration camps weren't really in Germany, y'all. They were outside of Germany, a lot of them. The big ones you think about, they weren't there. So same with sending people to El Salvador. Trump advocated to send American citizens to El Salvador. And Charlie Kirk backed that plan up. So yeah, they are going to do more harm for Americans than bin Laden ever could. Okay? Than bin Laden ever could. And so yeah, you can keep talking about how bin Laden is so evil and and you'd be right, but he is not more evil in comparison to impact than this administration will be on people globally, not just Americans, globally. Globally. You're not processing it. I know you're not processing it. Charlie Kirk stood for global terrorism. He screamed, I'm a capitalist. He screamed, I'm a capitalist and I'm a proud capitalist. Capitalism is global terror through economics. And you trying to paint it to be a pretty thing, a cool thing, and everyone can succeed. It's like, no, girl. No, girl. Okay? He also worked to get the police officer who killed George Floyd off on his charges. Okay? Remember that. limited time on earth, and he couldn't handle the fact that this man put a knee on another man's neck and killed him. You want to talk about patriarchal beliefs? Patriarchy makes men hate other men so badly that you don't even give a fuck that this man was killed for no goddamn reason, bro. Hate George Floyd all you want, but it's interesting that your hate allows you to want him dead. It's interesting that your hate allows you to want me dead when I never said I wanted Charlie Kirk dead. To this day, I will say it again, I want none of you dead. And I'm the only one saying that. Well, you are literally in my comment section praying for my death when I never, ever prayed for yours. And that's the difference. Okay, do we have any last minute questions? That's all we're doing today, guys. Any last minute questions? Just as Americans only call it terrorism when non-white people do it. Well, I think that's the funny part, because as obviously my family's from Iraq. Like, we are, we are white. 9/11 was done by white men. But the thing is they're not the kind of white men that people want to brag about. So now they're brown men. Oh, as if to insinuate that being brown is bad. See how racist America is? They won't even own it that white men did 9/11. Because, we're all from the same place. My parents are from the same place. We're all the same, West Asians. But we come in brown, we come in white, we come in ginger, we come everywhere. We come in all different kinds of shapes and sizes, okay? So it's interesting that we invade, well, I guess he's not from Iraq, but we invaded Iraq in the name of what these men did. It's just interesting. It's just interesting who's brown all of a sudden, who isn't. And then what does brown mean? That's what I'm saying. How racist is that? That, again, that's what I'm saying. Like, every time there's a school shooting and it ends up being a white boy, and we shouldn't be doing this, but it's interesting that it's never white men who are at fault, or white communities or white neighborhoods. But the one time it's a black kid, or the one time it's a trans woman, or the one time it's this, it's their whole community. Listen to me when I say this. I do not think most school shooters are doing it because of the white race. I think they're doing it because they're deeply, deeply disturbed, and their parents aren't paying attention to them, and nobody's getting them the help they need. And so they take it out on us. This is why I say your anger has to be for the world and not at the world. If you're angry at the world, you will be a school shooter. You will kill Charlie Kirk. You will do unnecessary, unneeded violence. If you're angry for the world, you will build communities. You will feed the homeless. You will clothe the homeless. You will love people. You will educate people. You will be an activist. Okay? We must be angry for the world, but not at the world. I am angry for you, and I will do my best to continue spreading, hopefully, messages of optimism and joy while still holding bad people accountable. You're not doomed to be evil. You can change. Evil people can change, but the change is not going to look the way you think. If an evil person changes, it doesn't mean they get to keep their status, their position in life, their riches, their communities. It just means that a changed person will act accordingly. So I always say, for the streamers who are so evil, sometimes making accountability is disappearing from the internet. Going and getting a local job, working in your neighborhoods, paying back the community you hurt. All these streamers that want to be the worst people ever and then still keep streaming. Sometimes that works, but sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes the best way to pay back your community is disappearing. So not life, just like moving into a local community, right? It's like, sometimes I think people forget that accountability and taking accountability doesn't mean you go back to your same previous life. It means changing your life. Your life must change. Okay? It's all circumstantial though, okay? So think about it. Just zoom out, meditate, think about it, okay? Chaz says, can you pull the clip where Charlie said black people are inferior? You can watch yesterday's stream. I showed it there. I showed all of it. You can also look it up. It's all over the internet. You can check it out. Okay? White replacement theory. Brown people are inferior. When Charlie Kirk said, if you import the third world, your country will become the third world. He did that during one of those lecture debates, or one of those debates at colleges. Yeah. What do you think that means? What do you think that means? All right. And by the way, yeah, the reason Bin Laden is scarier for Americans than Charlie Kirk is because Charlie Kirk looks like their friends and family. But don't you think Muslims feel the same way? Don't you think Arabs feel the same way? Don't you think people feel the same way about their own family? Like, you guys have to understand, their family is your family. So when people say, oh my God, Charlie died and it felt like my friend died, how do you think people feel about everyone else? Except, and this is where I want you to get to, deconstructed. Everybody is my family. When I see anybody die, I'm like, damn, that could have been my brother, bro. When I see a Palestinian die, I'm like, damn, that could have been my brother. When I see people die in other countries, like even if I see like a completely different ethnicity, not even related to my people, I go, damn, that could have been my brother. When I see Trayvon Martin die, I think, damn, that could have been my brother. You need to get to the point where all of it could have been your brother. So we get to the point where none of our brothers are being taken out by senseless violence, male on male crime, gun on gun crime. Our boys are dying and nobody cares. Because to care about men dying would mean to care about the fact that we send them off to war. We imprison them at higher rates. We don't give them rehabilitation and we call them pussies for crying. We mock them for going to therapy and God forbid we give them a chance out. So yeah, you can tell me how much you care about boys' lives and men's lives and all this stuff, but I don't see the evidence. I don't see the data. Okay? It could have been any of our brothers. All right, that's it. We did it. See you Monday. Oh, and on the Discord, we're deconstructing and dissecting episodes 1 through 5 of The Good Place. If you guys want to come join us Sunday, Discord's 18+, 4 members through Patreon. Links in the description. It really helps fund the content. I really appreciate it, guys. Like the stream before you head out. And remember that I'll see you on Sunday on the Discord and Monday on stream again. Okay, bye.